I know.
I'm
not going to answer that yet.
You're being evasive.
I'm not.
And these people.
But you see,
me and you are talking. I get.
But I'm saying, I keep going back and I answer your question.
These niggas.
Nkululeko on Cultr.
It's interesting because you're podcasting. You have points of view. You are in demand and people want to talk to you.
Oh,
now,
yes, boy.
You have to listen to
like
people.
Like a slay queen in Dubai.
you have to listen to people, though. And conversely, when the roles are changed, you have to listen to them and you have to take yourself away from being the guest, and I saw you on the Penuel show and I was stimulated by your conversation with Mandisa Mashego. It was a piece of shit conversation there because it was from your end, it was perfect. But from her end, women's right, 100%. We are never wrong. We are right. We have the desire to dominate you. Fuck you. You are wrong. You give her stats, you give her pushback, but she's not listening. But your dilemma is that you are the host and therefore you have to allow her to speak more than you. That's interesting.
No, man, shout out to Mandisa for getting you worked up.
I hated that.
I think that's kudos to her more than anything. I've gotten to know Mandisa for the last few months and yeah, she's a lot, man. I love her very much and she knows, but I tell her to her face, when we bully. But I appreciate the fact that she's also professional. A lot of chicks that you speak to, you guys get into a heated conversation and then it's done. Fuck you, I hate you, what's bad about men? Umandisa can actually be on and she can genuinely argue with you. And then when that's done, she can be like, so are we having coffee? And you're like, I like that. A lot of people don't have that intelligence, maturity, or what, so it gets annoying.
Yeah.
Which is partly why I invited her. And I'm hoping if I'm going to get other... she's not one, by the way. But if I were to get radical feminists or women who claim to hate men
You say she's not a radical feminist?
No, she's not a feminist. She claims that she's a womanist. And she claims that she's a black womanist in particular. So, she says she's not about feminism and those things.
Well, the benefit for you is that at least you get to experience her off the 2 hours or the hour, the limitation of the hour. Because I remember that was a feminism conversation, and you at the time, and you are emotionally invested in this. At the time that you were disagreeing so much, you also had to talk about political reform. And we
never did, by the way.
Yeah, but I think there was another episode that you uploaded. You never did on the one episode, and then the other episode was about that. And even getting that consent from her to say, look, because this thing is taking so much of our time, and we're doing a back and forth, and we need to talk about it even more and expand on it. It was a difficulty even getting to that point of, because she's like, are you bullying me into stop talking about this, blah, 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 blah. And this is not a personal attack. This is like a review as a consumer that as I saw you guys speaking, I was like, shit, this makes for a fucked up viewing experience. But it gives you engagement. It gives you numbers of people who are going to communicate on that and react to that. And the interesting thing about the audience, which is fucked up too, is that we can have, like we were saying the last time we spoke, that we can speak 1,000 words just because you say fuck 5 times. That's the one thing that some people will take away from that. You can have a cordial conversation with someone, but because it's cordial and it's decent, but there's a robust interchange of ideas, there will be less people commenting on it. But then as soon as you offend, as soon as you push buttons, and people start to comment on that as well. That's an interesting thing about being a creator. But I think what I wanted to explore with you is being on the other side, being the presenter. You've spoken to a few people now. How does it feel?
Mandisa actually did say this is not a safe space. That's how you silence men. Your words are very violent. I don't feel safe here. And luckily I know some of those tricks, so I was like, I feel sick. So the only reason I went as hard as I went, which was actually mild, I don't think people actually know me. People watch podcasts and they listen to you make videos. They don't really know what you stand for. They think they know. People don't really know me. I can go very hard and very dark and very deep. The only reason I went that hard on Umandisa is because of the consent and because we have a great respect and love for each other. I would have never done that. If I felt a woman was feeling some type of way, immediately my mind would have gone on to the, please make her feel safe. But I was happy to do that specifically with her. So when I have the virtual mkuku,
Yes, sir.
And shout out to DJ Spoo, of course, always. The virtual Nkuku, I'd like to say Spoo kind of set the tone and the culture. Because when I came in, I came as Penuel. I argue, I debate. I'm like, but that's shit. And I think because of Spoo with his professional background, formal background, and also I think just his personal brand, very big on letting guests speak, tell their story, etc. So I assimilated to that culture. It wasn't me. But it was also one of the reasons why, and this is something that myself and I guess I should call him my business partner on platforms. Myself and my business partner, Tibo Khokibine, it's something we've been meaning to do for years. We shot a conversation last year after the riots. Some of the clips I still upload now and they go out because some of them are about kids that have been sold a raw deal. Go to school, go get a job, and then when you're ready, there's no job, and then kids get angry, and then things like looting and frustration happen. But shout out to Debza, but it had to happen. It just obviously is going to look like to people out there like, oh, now that it's Espana Nosbu, now he's got a new platform. But that was always the plan.
Yeah.
And we shot content before. You know what I mean? I know, for example...
Call it by its name, nigga. Call it by its name. What are you talking about?
No. What I'm
the
trying
Penuel
to...
show. I'm saying.
Yes.
People need to know it's a Penuel show.
Yeah, the Penuel show. I'm saying this because...
I love the aesthetic of the Penuel show.
Thank you very much. So I'm saying when people watch this, there's going to be idiots that are going to maybe watch this for the first time or bump into your show for the first time. This guy is writing pen because of podcast and chill. It's going to be like, get the fuck out of here. I've interviewed this nigga before. All I'm trying to say is, this is something that has always needed to be done, the Penuel show. And what I wanted for the Penuel show was to be myself. I love Joe Rogan. I don't even look at, to be fully honest, without disrespecting anyone, I don't look at South African podcasts. I fell in love with Joe Rogan, and I've always wanted to do something like Joe Rogan. And I'm hoping the Penuel show allows me to do that. That means authentic conversation. So now the idea of you're the host, but your guest, I've had to explain even in the comments on the Penuel show when people are like, don't interrupt the guest.
Fuck you.
So my whole thing is, this is not a guest. What the Penuel show is meant to be is you are a fly on the wall. You're meant to find us conversing and be like, are these niggas actually aware that we're listening to... Why the fuck was she swearing at him? Fuck you, I'll stab you in the neck. Hey, but there's cameras. It's not meant to be like, oh, Nkululeko, welcome, and please tell us...
television. Tell us about yourself. And in 15 minutes' time, we're going to go to a break.
Of course.
Welcome back to the bullshit show.
Sorry to cut you off about your wife about to stab you, but we have to go to...
There you go. Oh, yeah, sorry. Before you go on, look at this aesthetic.
Yeah.
This is what Joe Rogan used to look like 10, 11 years ago. The brick wall aesthetic. And that's like one of... And he had an American flag. When I bought this place... Is that gone now? I don't know if he still has the American flag because I sometimes I listen to Spotify and sometimes there will be visual, but I can't remember. Because it was big, or when it was still on Facebook, he was super, super big. Because, on YouTube, you could see all of his videos and you could see it's like 4 million views.
I hear you.
Now on Spotify, you can't really know whether an episode is popping. But this aesthetic, when I bought this place, I was like, I'm going to shoot from here. When I was like literally just looking at this place,
you were like, around, Joe Rogan.
I'm gonna shoot from this place.
Where's the South African flag?
Nah, I'm not gonna put a South African flag. I'm not gonna put a South African flag. But yeah, just on your point of Joe Rogan being an inspiration, I think a lot of South African consumers of content are still new to this. They don't know that some of us have been since varsity, and you maybe since corporate and varsity, we've been YouTube content consumers.
Yeah.
I will watch a gamer from America who I've been watching for 10 years. Sometimes they have toxic traits, and that's why you always go and watch them swear at their fans. YouTube is not us looking at other South African YouTubers doing that shit. It's something that we want to do because we have something to say, we want to talk to people. And that's the intrigue about it. It's nothing. And I mean, I've never seen a lot of the South African YouTubers. For me to tell you that I've seen the Penuel show, I've seen the Penuel show, and I've watched you with your brother, and I've watched you with Mandisa. But I've never seen some of them that are popping. Like I've never seen, like ever watch, click and watch, because it's like, yo, bro, I'm intelligent. It's like the last thing I want is to listen to a South African celebrity.
Feels like you're watching Much I Love.
Yeah.
Your brain cells are popping.
Exactly. I think the one other thing that's admirable that comes from the Penuel show is your conversation with your brother.
Yeah.
Whatever your mother did, she did a great job.
My mother.
Whatever your mother
She's
did,
not the Virgin Mary.
she did
There was
a
a
great job.
fucking Kunzmalanga of a giant who was pummeling her to make us.
Whatever the fuck your parents did, bro. Because you guys look slightly more. I've never seen your father. I've seen
Yeah.
your mother. She's light skinned. I think she's
Yeah, she's colored.
yeah. So you guys look slightly more than her. I don't know if you look like your father too. But when I saw you guys engaging on topics, I'm like, whatever the fuck that woman did, she raised men who were strong men, masculine. Because your brother was pushing back on you and explaining concepts that are difficult to explain. I'm like, oh, so Penuel is dope. He's super smart, and his brother too. I was like, congratulations to wherever you guys come from in terms of the connection between the men and the women, and they gave birth to you guys. That's beautiful. When I saw you talk to your brother,
You send a shout out to your parents as well regularly, because this is your chance now.
No.
To speak about intelligent people. Am
It's-
I making you blush?
It's a complicated thing. It's complicated because there's no father in the picture, and I've spoken about it, but I don't want to dampen the mood. There's rape as well,
Shit,
and
I'm
I
sorry.
am the result of that. It's not a sad story for me. Like it's
No. But
it's
I'm
never-
just saying sorry
Yeah.
for that, because it might not trigger you.
yeah.
It could trigger
It
someone
could-
else
yeah,
listening.
absolutely.
So,
But
I'm
I've
sorry.
spoken to it. I did. I was on Sowetan at some point a few weeks back as well. I speak about it as an empowering thing to say, like, you don't have to be a bitch just
And be a
because.
victim.
Yeah, exactly.
Swimming
exactly.
in victimhood.
Absolutely. So it's not a sob story for me. But if I had that upbringing of normal, then I would say, like, yo, shout out to the people that raised me, because I am because of them. But no, it's not that. I ran away from home when I was 17. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Jeez.
I'm self-made in many ways. But I want to talk about you and your brother, and the fact that you guys are super intelligent, and I've seen him shoot guns on videos as well. What kind of household you guys would have grown up in? The intellectual, robust engagement and exchange of ideas that has come from your mother, or sorry, from the home itself, including your father if he was there.
When do you think this episode is going to come out? Still in August or September?
Yeah, it will. 24th of August, 24th or 25th.
Somewhere in August. So
Yeah.
fundamentally important, because I love teachable moments,
Yeah, you can continue speaking.
and I know we're deviating, because I wanted to say some stuff about Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
I wanted to speak about Umandisa in that episode. I wanted to say some stuff about the virtual Mkuku, but we're moving fast.
Oh yeah. Because the thing is, I just want to talk to you, and I'm excited. Actually, I'm not controlling my emotions.
No, thanks, bro. That means a lot to me. Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Maybe no, I don't need to start anyway. To what you're saying, I need you're triggering me now, because you're saying you're excited. Stimulating intelligent conversation is probably one of the things I search for in life.
Yeah.
Probably more than sex. You know. So
That's debatable.
No, for you, of course. But when I think of amazing sex, and then I think of amazing conversations, I think the conversations just trump the sex. It's like watching a mind-blowing movie. For me, if someone's like, you're about to have good sex for 30 minutes, or you're about to watch a movie like Interstellar by Christopher Nolan, I'm like, nah, I'll watch Interstellar. Or Ex Machina. Where am I going to start?
We'll go
Maybe
back,
I'll go
we'll
a few
go
steps
back.
back.
We'll go back to virtual Mkuku. Don't worry. We don't
Okay.
have time limitations, and the other stuff you can bring
Okay.
them up as well. Because I've just arrived here at this point now. Let's just address
The
that.
thing is, both of you and I have a lot of information. We could go fast and never go back.
Yeah. Nah,
Fuck.
I'm obligated to go back because you've mentioned it. We'll go back to virtual Mkuku.
You want to speak about my parents?
Not deep, because you're.
So this is what happened on Podcast and Chill, right? With Mac G and Saul.
What happened?
Mac G asks questions. So Pen, why do you hate black people? And I'm like, how? What do you mean, Mac G? Mac G asks these questions, and I guess he's gotten comfortable with interviewing people in a certain way. The way my brain works, the interviews I've studied, especially propaganda, journalists that try to trap politicians and whatever, I've studied all of that psychology, and I made sure that with every question Mac G asks me, it frustrated him, and some people saw. I would always go back and give the context. No, but dog, I'm like, I hear you, but I just want to paint the picture. Usol got it, because I think Usol fucks with my brain to a larger extent. Mac G fucks with my brain as well, but Usol was like, no, he's giving context. So I do this thing of wanting to give context. That's why right now I'm thinking, should I go back to Joe Rogan? One of the questions you asked me is, how does it feel now being on the other side? And I didn't finish that.
Oh yeah.
Now you're asking about my parents. I'm like, should I speak about my... So my brain is just like that. But I'm happy to answer any question you want, and we can go back if you want. I'm chilled.
Wherever you wanna go.
Let me start
I realize as a journalist, it's like that's fucked up that I put you in that predicament.
No, don't worry about that.
I realize it. Like,
Fuck. We're on a podcast.
No, I'm saying it in a way that we're talking, we're hanging out. But I realize now as a journalist, like
but you added a disclaimer. You said you're excited, so things are gonna come out.
I'm excited.
So
to talk to you.
and then Joe Rogan is who I admire very much, along with Charlemagne, the God on the
Charlemagne the God.
Very underrated brain there. So in the work that I'm doing in podcasting and conversations, those guys remain top of mind. Can add Trevor Noah as a brain. Can add Dave Chappelle as
Shout
a
out
brain.
to Dave.
Obviously, I like Gary Vaynerchuk. I love Jordan Peterson to some degree. Not really sure about Ben Shapiro and his fucking annoying voice. And I 80% like Candace Owens. You know.
She's very provocative.
Yeah. So now when people are going to be like, podcast and chill, Rian Blackstaff, DJ Spoon or Pen on the virtual cook, I'm like, no, that's cool. South Africa's getting its own little podcast culture. It's cool. But if you grow up as a kid and like you want to be Michael Jackson or you want to be Lionel Messi, and then someone is like, hey, look at AKA, look at Tico Modise. Like, yeah, whatever, dog. I want to be fucking Ronaldinho. I want to be Kanye West and Zong Casper. Like, my brain is not even here. I think that's what happened in Nasty C, by the way. I don't think he's ever been like, I'm competing here. He's like, I want to fucking go against Eminem, Jay-Z, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole. I don't know where his head is at, but some of us are like that. So,
yeah, that's why he says he's never experienced racism.
Who said that?
Nasty C. He said it in an American platform, either on Sway or The Breakfast Club, long time ago, but he did say he never experienced racism.
No comment.
Yeah.
Because I didn't watch it and I don't know the context.
Absolutely.
So yeah, man, Joe Rogan, big shout out on the aesthetics. And one of the things I wanted to say is, because I love teachable moments. A lot of people try to compete at a level where someone has already made it. And I normally use KFC as my example. I want to open a chicken franchise. Look at KFC. I must get nice couches and I must get nice branding. I'm very big on studying the history. Go back to when Colonel Sanders was fucking frying chicken in his kitchen. Because that's where it started. And then benchmark there. And then be like, in 5 years, where was he? Oh, I'm actually moving faster than Colonel Sanders. I've already got a shop. I've already got a small conspiracy theory. I don't believe Colonel Sanders invented KFC. I think because he was in the South, he probably took a lot of black women that were frying chicken and then he just pasted his name on that thing as an old white colonel.
That's a plausible hypothesis.
Yeah, which kind of happens everywhere. They call it brand appropriation or something like that. Kanyezi Indigo Kutz on TikTok, who's actually one of my contacts on WhatsApp. Brilliant South African chick. I think she's based in America currently, but she'll speak about Shisanyama. And this white couple, I think it's a white couple, that came and it's cultural appropriation is what she called it.
Yeah.
They took Shisanyama and they made it, and I was like, I don't know, man. When you see a good idea, anyways, my theories. I don't want podcasts to lose their authenticity, and I said it on the virtual Mkuko DJ Spoo. It was in passing, but I genuinely mean it. And I said it as well with, I don't know if it was with Reason, Sizwe Alakain. There was someone we were having a conversation with, and I was like, my fear, and I might have said it on podcast and chill as well. My fear is that podcasts, the internet, is going to get steamrolled by capitalism and commercialization, as it always does. So we might be speaking about 10 years from now podcasts, but you might find in 2 years' time the big commercial arms have come in and they've regulated. Yeah. Now you can't swear, now you can't. Now the brands are like, yeah, but these guys have got a 50 million budget. And you're like, they killed everything, which is what happened to hip-hop. My fear is losing that because everyone is now, how many views do you have? How much money did you make? Which brand is he working with? And you're no longer having real conversations. Now we have to be like on brand. We have to be on brand and on, Nkululeko. So, as I was sitting with my PA last week, you're like, these niggas are talking shit. I really hope we don't lose our authenticity. Again, Joe Rogan,
what
Dave
role
Chappelle.
What role do you think the audience has to play on that? Why can't they call us out when we're being full of shit? Because it seems to me
they don't
like
have power.
Yeah, the interesting thing just on that point is that the audience allowed television to be television, just numb them to their next day for work and so on and so forth. You never really hold them accountable, except for backward moments where just because a character is being killed off from a show because maybe the contract behind the scenes was not extended, then they start writing and writing and writing. They want Stefano Demero back and they are unhappy.
Stefano
You know what
Demero.
I'm saying? But other than that, they never advocate for something to remain authentic. Because I think it comes from a place of care, what you're saying. And I've been saying it as well, because we care about the industry that, you know what, we are going to sell out. Literally, we are going to sell out. And the message,
We've already sold out.
yeah, unfortunately, because even when I was speaking to Saul, our episode went to 50,000 within 4 hours. And because the algorithm was still checking other things, because they do say checking after you've uploaded the content. The moment that they picked up the point where we're talking about LGBTQI, then they stopped serving it to audience. They sent me an email to say,
Jeez.
it will be limited monetization.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Limited monetization. And
That is crazy.
From that point, empirically, you can be able to pick up that the first 5 hours of it was up to 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. After that, there's a decline of serving it to audiences,
And now you're pressured to edit that part out.
I didn't.
So that the algorithms.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
if I wanted that money, like,
Yeah.
because we were gonna get maybe 4,000 or 5,000 from an episode, which is decent money. You combine all of that, it becomes 20,000, 30,000, and then it helps serve your content. You can be able to pay for people who are doing content, and that was limited. But I didn't go and change that part. I left it there. So we've already spoken about my mother, and I mentioned the R word.
Yeah.
I know that even this will be limited.
It might trigger.
Yeah, especially if they pick it up as well. So we need to take care of podcasting. We need to, I really, really am happy with your message about let's not water down our messaging, but also they need to hold us accountable. The audience.
Yeah.
On the Penuel show, the moment you start bringing in people who talk about bakery, we were listening to you talking about women's issues. We're listening to you having robust engagements with people who are thinkers. And these things are like books. Your thing, the Penuel show, is like a book. I'm listening to an audiobook whilst I'm watching it, and I'm learning concepts. And I'm learning how people argue and counter-argue and shut people down when they're making valid points, right? It's like a book. But now, tomorrow, because you have a sponsor with McDonald's, you now need to bring a bake. How do you bake? Yeah, I bake 5 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. Stupid bullshit like that. Although it's important to her or him who's doing the baking, but that's not the content that we want in future. We want robust engagement.
Like I said, you and I are probably not going to be able to stick to the script, man. I don't know if I'll ever get back to my brother and my parents.
Yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry.
It's not fair to ask sheep to stop being sheep. I know many times I say they are good leaders, but sometimes what we lack is good, strong followers. If you look at Afrikaners, I speak about Afrikaners and pro-black people get very attached, and call me a white puppet. But Afrikaans people have got good followers. If you look at AfriForum as an example, I think AfriForum leadership is not like the greatest leadership. I think the gents are, all respect to Ernst Roots, Kali Kriel, Ernst van, they relatively mediocre-ish compared to a Julius Mali, Mambuyiseni, Ndlozi, Floyd. These guys shoot the lights out. But they just do their work, and they have amazing followers who make sure that must we send money? We're sending. Must we show up? We're there. Do you need our skills? And all of a sudden, they do amazing things. It's like you do Diski TV. It's like having a mediocre team of Inkomo, but they're very good at the basics. By a trap, by a passer,
Yeah.
a striker must ball, he puts it in the back of the net.
Yeah.
And you're like, how the hell is the team in Inkomo beating I'm a superstar? It's because I'm a superstar don't have the basics on point. And for the audience, a lot of them are just mediocre followers. And that's part of the problem. And my thing is this. They can only do so much, and the followers themselves didn't hold everyone accountable for losing hip-hop. They haven't held anyone accountable for TV becoming trash. They haven't held anyone accountable for social media becoming trash. Social media, as you're saying in real time, is beginning to censor us. I get blocked on and suspended on Facebook for some of the most dumbest bullshit, and I can no longer appeal anymore. So who's out there fighting, and do they even care? So the sheep can only do so much, and they are constantly programmed by the influencers who are telling them, guys, no, but what? And they're also like, yeah, that's wrong. The cancel culture again. Fuck. It's for some of us to speak up. Last time I was here, I spoke about the hip-hop that I was raised on. And I think I judge people by their role models. you judge people by what they do is what they normally tell you. Some will be like, yeah, but he speaks well, so maybe. I'm like, I judge people on their role models. Even if you never live up to your role model, it speaks to me about what you aspire to and who you are. And whenever the time comes to make a crunch decision, I know you will follow your role models. Tupac, maybe a Lil Wayne, maybe an Eminem. Some of these guys who never, maybe Tupac's a bad example because he did movies about Janet Jackson. But you won't see what Eminem doing to all come dance with the stars. Lil Wayne wasn't pushing endorsement deals and what. The guys were still kind of keeping it raw. And even to this day, some of the kids that about 50 Cent were admiring, Casanova, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Yes, they were doing it for reactions. Yes, they were trying to make money. But the bottom line is they were almost doing the opposite of what's politically correct. And that became the appeal. Andrew Tate. Maybe not so much Kevin Samuels, but it's almost like you have to go on the other side. And you're like, I'm not even that extreme. It's not that I hate women. It's not that... But you guys are forcing me to be binary just so that I can allow average gents to just have a voice. Because they're like, yeah, but you know, Andrew Tate kind of said, just so much I can hide behind someone who's controversial. And that, it pisses me off, and we do have to fight, and people aren't aware of this. I'm aware of it. Some of the leaders that I'm speaking to, I mean, I've done an interview with Nkululeko, I've done Tutuzane Zuma. I've sat with certain people, and some of them actually have studied propaganda, history, psychology, the system, and some of them in various ways. We're trying. Whether it's putting on a mask and pingumzegeze, you're like, I'm going to find an intelligent way. Stand-up comedy. Very intelligent way to push real agendas through comedy. Chris Rock did it. Dave Chappelle has done it. Some other comedians are doing it. Guys, we cannot have these conversations. And even if it's a joke, fuck this bitch, and then I slapped her. You're like, but he's raising an important point, and we would have never been able to speak about it if it wasn't hidden in comedy.
Yeah.
Now we've got podcasts which are not regulated, but clearly now about YouTube are doing whatever.
Yeah, they are
and
doing
we're saying,
the
guys,
regulation.
where can we sit and have these conversations? I'm a cheat on social media. Men who are actually the bulk consumers of YouTube are shit scared of being honest on social media. Shit scared. So they'll upload a video of Upen saying something radical because they can't say it. So when the chicks go and they're like, oh, do you like this guy? No, I'm not saying I like him, but I'm just like, yo. But Umchid in his head is like, fuck, I'm so happy that nigga said it. And it goes back to the show of like the followers. And this is also why this was going to go to you praising my mom. Guys have to leave the mom's nest and leave the mom's titty and her breast to go and search for masculinity. And normally we don't go for good masculinity because you've been so starved and depraved. You literally go for the gangs, the drug dealers.
Yeah.
You go for the guys with the guns. And that's where I was mentioning my dad, because my dad was the Andrew Tate in my life. And my dad was more thuggish than Andrew Tate. So when we speak about these issues, it's like, your mom. And I'm like, my mom. My mom is the reason I'm polite and I went to a good school and I speak good English and I'm well-mannered and I'm sensitive to women. But some of the bravery and... Cultr and I had this conversation. So that's a conversation coming up on the Penuel show. Nice one. This thing of... Cultr, why do you not fear anyone? Or do you fear anyone? He's like, I fear no man. And it's come out that Cultr's father was a criminal, stole. And I'm like, my father was relatively dark. And I appreciate that because I can see the dark in myself. That's why you can bring Jay-Z, Cyril, Vladimir Putin as probably one of the biggest badass motherfuckers.
Shout out to Vlad.
The Gaba family in KZN, that everyone panics.
Whenever you talk about them.
When I speak about the Zulu kingdom, I used to talk shit about Uzwelithini. I've called out to Miss Zulu, and it's like, hey, you can't say that to Zulu. I'm like, you guys are bitch niggas. And this is why no one will ever fucking take you seriously. Without getting too passionate.
There's a pandemic of bitch niggas in the world.
I'm a simp. So my whole thing is... what was my point?
You are reconciling
the followers, man. The followers, yes, they have a role to play. But for me, it's people like you and I who have seen the bullshit and who need to get louder. Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, maybe even arguably about Dave Chappelle and even about Trevor Noah, they would have never gotten voices if they didn't find their own platforms. If Trevor Noah had to be a successful actor, successful politician, if Dave Chappelle had to get into politics, if Candace Owens didn't have YouTube, if Jordan Peterson didn't have YouTube, even if Joe Rogan, as successful as he was at the UFC, if he didn't start his podcast, there would be so many conversations we're not having if it weren't for them. So I'm saying, and Sbu and I have spoken about this thing, the power of this bad boy and the internet. Use it. It doesn't matter if people don't like you, because one of the coolest things when you study history is the concept of the crucifixion of Jesus and the resurrection. So whether it happens accidentally or it happens intentionally, the Mandela moment, we need you to be crucified and we need you to die. As a hero, as someone who's fighting for the people.
Yeah.
And then after that, you need to be a phoenix and you need to resurrect, because that's when people see you as a god. Mandela went to prison. He was meant to die, apparently. And he came out of prison and he resurrected. And that's where people are like, Solomchita is going to take all the heat. You can't say that. The women have bashed you on social media. You've been blocked on Facebook. And still after all of that, you still came out. Even people that were not sure about you start respecting you. Dave Chappelle was meant to be cancelled.
Yeah. I was actually going to talk about it. Yeah, like in 2004, he rejects 50 million from Comedy Central. And immediately after that, they start writing articles about him being a drug addict, because he goes away from that. He comes to South Africa, and in transit to South Africa, they write articles about him being a drug addict. And he's a devout Muslim who doesn't drink or smoke at the time. He's 27, 28, 29 years old. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. He's a Muslim. He comes to South Africa. By the time he touches down to South Africa, he sees in newspapers that he is a drug addict.
Yeah.
And he goes away for years out of the limelight, and he starts recording his own shows, performing randomly at comedy clubs, and sometimes just go where people are and just...
He went back old school. He went back to the wall.
He
wasn't like, oh, now I've got a big franchise. He went back to the wall to not lose himself.
Absolutely. Went back to the people, and then boom, speakers talk shit, and people gather. 2,000 people gather. They know he's going to be there. 3,000 people gather. And then he signs with Netflix 2-3 shows for 60 million.
$60 million US.
Imagine that shit.
Motherfucker.
Imagine that. For me, that nigga is my hero. I started seeing him when I was 15 or 14, the same time as the Boondocks.
Shout out to Aaron McCruder.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Regina King and all the people involved in the Boondocks.
Absolutely. John Witherspoon.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and I think Samuel L. Jackson is there as well as
He features as one of the white guys.
One of the white guys, yeah. Ed Wansler or something like that. And I look at Dave Chappelle, I'm like, nah, just to your point, it's like, if that motherfucker can do that and walks away from 50 million, it challenges me to do more. It challenges people like yourself to do more. Of course, we live in a capitalistic context, and of course there's a demand for cash all the time, but there are times where you don't cave in, particularly as a man and as a leader of people. You don't cave in. You say, fuck you too. Sometimes, and you have to go through the process of being refined and being ridiculed and being crucified, and then sometimes you rise, sometimes you don't rise.
Sometimes you don't.
Unfortunately.
Did you think Dave Chappelle was gonna make it through the transgender storm? Realistically,
interesting. That's interesting, because he kept on dropping videos as well to explain his relationships and why. So I don't know whether the transgender happened. So the last one was the closer, right? The last special was the closer. Prior to that, he actually explained that comedy. He was he's so fucking powerful that his Instagram has like millions of people, but it doesn't post anything except randomly he will drop a video of when he was talking somewhere for 10 minutes. So there was a moment before that I got to recognize his power, that Comedy Central at that time had rejected the Chappelle show, and they said to him, what do we need you for? And then the Chappelle show became what it became, right? Eventually it became what it became because somehow they persuaded each other to accept it, right? Now, when he was explaining in one of his specials, it's just a fucking rant, actually, it's not a special, but it's seen by millions of people. What he explained was that when Netflix took the Chappelle show, he went to Netflix and said, look, guys, I still have a beef with these people. The way that I left there,
Yeah.
right? So why are you playing this? Because I'm your person.
Yeah.
We are in business together. And Netflix did not do what South African businessmen, as I have experienced them, and corporates, as I've experienced them, did not do. Look you in the eye and say, "Fuck you, nigga. We're gonna do what we want to do."
Yeah.
No, they spoke to him and they said, "How do you feel about this?" Okay, cool. And then they stopped, even though they had invested in contracts millions of US dollars.
Yeah.
So what happened then is that Dave Chappelle got his name back because that was a battle that they're gonna use his name in perpetuity forever and ever. You will never be able to call another show the Penuel show,
Jeez.
even though you're still Penuel. And you're still this human being.
Jeez.
And the way that the contract is constructed is such that even if we move to Mars with Elon Musk, for example, even there, this
You
thing is
can't.
going to be applicable. You know what I'm saying?
Universal contract.
Yeah. And it's archaic as well. You know what I'm saying? It's dictatorial and it's abusive. And he dragged them to the table with Netflix through him saying, "You're going to work with these motherfuckers, I'm not going to work with you."
Yeah.
And Netflix knew the value in Dave Chappelle. They said, "Come and speak to this nigga now." And they gave him his money back. They gave him his name back. He never specified how much. So to answer your question, with the transgender storm, and I understood the nuances and I loved it and I wanted him to talk about it. And I watched all of his specials to the end, every single minute. With that storm, it came before that moment where they gave him no corporate. If you sign a deal with SABC or Mzansi Magic, even if it's called the Penuel show and it's a comedy show, no corporate is going to give you that show back, your likeness and your name and your money that they still owed you.
I think I've heard that story with Zola 7.
They gave him, I don't know what was the situation
I've heard
with
a
Zola
similar
7.
story that
Did they give him
can't-
back?
That
Oh,
they,
he can't
they
say
took, they took the show and he can't.
He can't use
use
Zola
that.
7.
He can't have his Zola 7 as a show.
There you go. They're not gonna give him no corporate. Corporates will look you in the eye, bro. Like, as influential as you are, and I've been in these meetings, they will look you in the eye and fuck you in the ass. Like, and you have to smile and accept it. That man said, "Fuck you, I'm going," and he left for 8 years and he came back. So with the transgender storm, for him,
You had intel, is what you're saying. You understood the nuances and you're
yes,
like,
I'm
he's
like,
gonna make it because
they're not gonna cancel him because they've done something that is never done. Because you send the message to every artist in the world, to every musician, every actor in the world that you can push for this to happen for you too. And if they can do it, they have to do it to thousands of thespians. To say, we gave you a show in 1996, we shortchanged you, you can use your name now. So they were going to use him as an example, as a precedent, even in court, to say that happened. But then it was an NDA, non-disclosure, so we don't know how much money was paid.
Yeah.
But he said, "I got my name back and I got my money back." And that's why when you're on Netflix, you can see the Chappelle show. And I don't have beef with it anymore. I think that motherfucker, like, when I look at him, I'm like, that's admirable. Because he was 29, I'm 32, bro. Like, he was 29 when he walked away from 50 million.
He was still young.
Yeah, he was very young to walk away from
$50
that.
million. He's like, Baba, should we ashlan? He must be taking drugs.
Yeah. Would you do that? Like, how would you have approached everything that he faced? Yeah, Umjit.
Before I say that, I wanted to say, shout out to the heroes. So you were talking about followers. There are certain people in strategic positions who are fighting fights that people are not aware of. So I guess some of maybe the decision makers at Netflix, shout out to them for not flinching.
Absolutely.
Shout out to some of the execs at Spotify for not flinching when they were trying to cancel Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jack Dorsey at Twitter, who's carried on being a fucking wild man and not flinching. And shout out to every person who maybe works in corporate, people that work for brands, who are sitting in a boardroom and decisions are being made and they're like, "I don't agree. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Stop recycling Somizi and Bonang
Absolutely.
and Casper." Like,
Absolutely.
this kid needs a chance.
Absolutely.
I don't know this. Oh, is this kid, are you related? Are you getting up? No. But this kid is talented. You have to give that.
Absolutely.
And you won't even know that the person's like, I actually fought for you. You don't owe me anything, but it's because your message resonated with me. You know, so shout out to all the unseen heroes, man. Fuck. I wanted to speak about Jacob Zuma, a rebel with the cause, Julius Malema, and Gayton McKenzie.
Cool.
I know we still have a lot of stuff to
Nice,
speak
cool.
about.
You can go ahead.
Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, I wanted to ask you, but now you've fucking sent a question my way. I wanted to ask if you thought Joe Rogan was going to survive the COVID storm. And if you maybe had a similar...
If you understand the economic dynamics, you see this is the same thing. Like,
Because I keep asking who's protecting Joe Rogan.
yeah, if you understand that they had... So the COVID storm happens when he's already on Spotify. right?
Yeah.
He's already on Spotify. When he signs for Spotify for 100 million for 5 years, if that's the case, it's
The argument is it might be a 200 million deal. Nam ngai 100 million. But
yeah,
please carry on.
yeah. But so when he signs, I was looking at the behavior of the stock market and Spotify's stock. I think it was the equivalent of you all of a sudden, if you had millions dollars worth of stock on Spotify, when he signs immediately, it goes up to like 4 or 5 million.
Jeez, that's like signing Cristiano Ronaldo to a soccer team.
Absolutely. So
Jeez,
that's how the market behaved to
Yeah.
that. I remember someone was breaking it down and it showed that you can go in now, you can Google it, you can see where the stock is at today and then tomorrow and what happened to make it go there, right? So because of the investment, I never thought that he's going to be consequence, and I never thought
Because
that
of
he
money.
should be. Because
But you know, Big Pharma has more money, and you know that even the Spotify execs have got friends in other spaces
Yeah.
that are like, you can't let this guy do this thing. And even if he may have earned you guys, let's say, for example, billions of dollars, we have trillions of dollars. He is not worth it for this supposed hustle
Yeah.
and scam that we're pushing. Get rid of him. So you still have to be brave.
there are unicorns in every institution.
Yeah.
Junior Kanye is my unicorn.
Yeah.
Anything that happens with him, I'm going to protect him first. We'll talk about it. We'll go and look at it because I understand the financial consequences of losing him immediately.
Yeah.
I know, shit, that's like millions worth of revenue if we lose it. So
hear you.
we talk it out.
I hear you.
You know, we're going to go.
Hey, that's very dangerous for a person to know, by the way.
Yeah, but I'm confident
Jeez.
that he doesn't consume this kind of content.
Stop it.
So, but anyways, that's
Stop it.
all from love though.
Yeah.
So I'm just using that. I always try to personalize.
No, I hear you, but
examples.
it's also a compliment to him of how powerful he is on the platform.
Yeah. So
It's a high compliment.
yeah. So and it's dangerous for the platform actually, but you manage that relationship, and as long as it's genuine, we love each other. Like we love each other. We
That's
can call each other anytime. So with Joe Rogan, I always saw him as a unicorn for Spotify because Spotify, in essence, is competing with free, accessible material that's on radio, right? But of course, there's a culture in other countries. In America, there's a culture of plugging in your Spotify because there's no Wi-Fi limitation, right? You put in your Spotify, your favorite show, you play it whilst you're stuck in traffic, right? But it's not the case in every country.
Yeah.
So Spotify
Still
needs...
free Wi-Fi. Still free Wi-fi.
Absolutely.
Still free Wi-Fi.
It would change the game for us forever,
Yeah.
forever. And I think that they realize that they need that unicorn. They need, because they tried these tricks with there's this unfunny comedian, Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer, she's a white woman.
Unfunny
She
comedian.
steals material. There's
Aibo.
empirical data and videos of her stealing. Like Penuel says this joke, and she says the same joke 5 years later. Right, Amy Schumer, but
And she's not funny.
yeah, she's a blonde white woman who was being pushed, and she's not funny.
Sure.
And she had a deal, but they realized that sometimes you can propel someone's stardom, you can cook it up to make it look like they're a star, but they're not a star. Because
Yeah.
empirically, you can see it after you've signed as Spotify, giving her 50 million for maybe 5 years, that, oh shit, her numbers are not that great.
Sure.
That means you were buying into the bullshit of her stardom, her perceived
I wonder how
stardom.
many people signed up to Netflix because of Dave Chappelle. Now that you speak
There you
about
go.
it.
So they have empirical data. They know how many people watch each episode. They know what value everyone is bringing. So they will stand up for Dave. They will stand up for Joe Rogan, Spotify, because they know empirically that this guy, his show, gives us these numbers. It's the same thing that happened with the Joe Budden podcast, that they were the highest or the most listened to show at some point, but they fucked up their negotiations by overvaluing or overpricing their
Listen.
value. You know, there's a difference. You can always accept 50 million, but some people think, no, you should have taken 200 million. And then you make a point.
I think I'm Jay-Z. I think I'm Michael Jordan. This is $1 billion deal.
Absolutely. And
That's where I am.
and you get zero as opposed to 50 million, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they did because they could see the numbers. They had access to the numbers, the Joe Budden podcast, before Joe Rogan joined. They could see that, every week we are the most listened to show, and we're bringing African Americans, we're bringing youth who are into hip hop, whether they're Asian or white, youth who are into hip hop, because we talk about hip hop news, we chop it up about hip hop. So those are the dynamics that exist in these corporations that they know this is my unicorn. And until empirically you can prove to me that he did sexual assault or anything like, it's like, okay, there's nothing we
And
can
even
do.
then, that they'll only release him because of
Yeah, with tears in your eyes, bro, like you're gonna
fuck, why did you have to snort that coke on camera?
Yeah.
R. Kelly, bitch. That was Lil Wayne for Cash Money. He was the unicorn that
Absolutely.
ended up bringing a Drake, ended up bringing a Nicki. Never mind all the other artists.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, You have to respect your unicorns. And a lot of idiotic companies, brands, organizations, abayitshelayo. I'd like to argue, which I don't know, I've got conspiracy theories, but I won't speak about them.
Sure.
Assuming everything at face value. The ANC fucked up by losing Julius Malema, as an example, you know. He was meant to be groomed to be something very special for the party. And Julius has proven, in my opinion, that he can play any side that you need him to play, as long as uyamhlonipha and you give him a platform to shine. But anyways, that's a conversation for another day.
That's a plausible argument, though.
There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of questions you asked me.
Maybe let's go back to the virtual Mkuku, whatever point you wanted to make about podcasting, unless you've ventilated them, and then we'll move on to something else.
I'll answer a question that I remember.
Sure.
How it feels to be on the other side.
Oh, yes.
Maybe I can tie this into parts about my brother. We can speak about the Penuel show
Sure.
a bit later as well. Thanks to genetics, which I'm hoping at some point you'll acknowledge as well. Thanks to genetics, I was given a brain that easily consumes information, retains it, processes it in a unique way, and then articulates it like I do. I was reading books like crazy. One of the episodes that's coming out in the Penuel show is myself and Anota as well.
And
Who's
to
a
the
regular
old-
here. And we were speaking about our brains and what makes us different and how we consume information. So I was always going to be different from what we call normal people. Because while my friends were doing X, I was reading books. Even now, Dave Chappelle and being Muslim. At varsity, while my friends were clubbing, I was watching the greatest movies of all time, and I was watching intelligent movies, intelligent series. I was reading unique books that they weren't reading at the time, and I was meeting unique people. So I was always going to be different. But in that, I was lucky in that, obviously, my parents, maybe my grandparents as well, I've done a decent amount of research into my family because I believe in genetics a lot. My brother doesn't so much. I do. My grandfather on my mother's side was an Indian Muslim man, Chota Hussein Amin, proper Indian Muslim. So I know part of that is in me, and part of my deviations, maybe from a black African, might be part of that. Why are you not behaving like another black? It's because maybe I'm not fully 100% black, and I acknowledge that.
But you're a black person.
But I'm a black person. You know, my grandmother on my mother's side, Utemba Maria Miaga, very rebellious, very aggressive, was not scared of any man, never mind person, not scared of any man. So I know I have part of that in me. My father and who he was as a person, as a freak of nature. I think as my life goes, I'm going to sing a lot of shout outs to my father because I grew up believing my father was a piece of shit. Useless dad, was not providing for his 19 kids, violent, but because of that darkness that he was, and because I inherited it and because I learned to manage it, this is the Jordan Peterson moment of understanding that you need to be dangerous and control it. I appreciate that because it becomes my protection.
Yeah.
You know, I know the things my father has done, and I know I have that in me, so I don't really fear anything for that reason. It's a combination of my family, and then uniquely, I was in a space where some of the people I was around happened to be intelligent as well. I want to send a little shout out. We never give shout outs to Amanama podcast, like radio. Talmage Street, where I grew up in the suburbs. The Ngumalo family, Uzaman, Usbongsen, Upagamani. Another great family that lived in the same home, Ntutuko Klaba and his sister, Utembega Klaba. Guys like Brendan Govender in Newcastle, Karabo Nsegi. And then some of my friends, Ntutuko Madlala, Blessing Villagas, Simpiwe Dlamini, Sizwe Zondo, Mbuso Ndlovu, Sandile Ndaba, Zamaduma. There were so many intelligent, stimulating, challenging guys where we used to have, it wasn't debates, it was arguments. And in those arguments and debates and cracking jokes, I almost got to learn all the tools of how to win an argument. What is your research? You realize the guy with the higher voice, the guy who threatens, the guy who disarms people by a compliment or cracking a joke, the guy who reads the most, constantly debating and arguing.
You embody all of those things at once. Because with
It's
our
because of
first
them.
interview, you had all those moments at different junctures of the interviews.
There were times when I was trying to
You
crack
push
jokes.
back. Yeah, you crack jokes. You push back on me asking you a question. You plant a seed of doubt in my conversation with you about Jonestown. To say what the official what if the official knows, and that's admirable actually when you can control that you are doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have that power.
I've stolen it from a lot of those guys. You know what I mean? I look at amazing sportsmen. Let's use Trevor Noah as an example, because Trevor says when he does his voices, his accents, whether it's Australian, whether it's
Indian
from
or
the
Russian,
islands, he says it's not. It's from people. It's from his friends. He has
I think
conversations
I've heard him
with.
say that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's stealing. Unlike Amy, the unfunny comedian.
Amy
Sorry,
Schumer.
Amy, I don't even know you. But it's literally stealing. Like, what would Brendan do? What would Zamani do? What would Ntutugo say? What would my brother say, as an example? So I then put on that, and then it looks like I'm but it's literally stealing from those guys. And we sharpened each other a lot. We sharpened each other a lot. I forgot to give a shout out to Uhalala Nxumalo, Tuletu Nxumalo, and my sister as well, Upendros Nxumalo. And I hope I didn't forget anyone in that circle.
What's up with his pens though?
Yeah, my mom maybe thought she was poetic. Or
She is a teacher.
Penrose,
You've said
Penson.
she's a teacher, right?
Yeah, she's been a teacher her whole life. She was
That's
deputy
why all
principal
of
at
you-
some point.
Okay, nice one. That's why all of you are pens. Penson, Penrose,
So
Penuel.
lame.
Because she's a teacher.
Penicillin, penis. No. My brother was never meant to have that name. It came later. Maybe that's a conversation for another day.
Okay.
It's slightly boring. I was Penuel. My brother was Panson with a PA. Then when my sister was going to be born, my mom went and changed everything. She changed my brother's name and even our Zulu names. Bengu Lungelo. My brother was actually Umtobis. When my sister was going to be born, she became Ulungiswa. So then my brother had to get a Lu name and he became Ulungsani. So
That's lame though.
the poetry came later. It's a bit lame-ish, but we'll
It's
allow
the effort
it.
that counts though. A for effort.
Look, it looks beautiful now. Oh, your mom is so poetic. Pen, Lung. I'm like, yes, I can't talk shit about my mother because I can never talk shit about our mothers. But yeah, she corrected it later.
Yeah.
So we sharpened each other a lot. And speaking about my brother, this became the thing, right? Having me,
Is he older or younger than
he's
you?
younger, even though he's taller than me, bigger than me.
Yeah. I could see his arms. I'm like, this nigga works out.
But uglier than me. He looks older. And I always tell him that. I'm like, the reason people say you look old is because of movie. You know, there was a poke he made in the thing. No, there's a poke I made. Because I was saying something, he spoke to the crew. He's like, no, but this guy is bullying me. And he said something, and then he said, Umubi to me. And then I almost didn't say it. Then I brought it back. I was like, but that's not what your mom said. But we can say it because it's our mother. But yeah, we can, your mama jokes. That's not what your mom said
Yeah,
when I was pummeling her
Yeah,
last
it
night.
works in a different context. Yeah.
But he knew it. I ended it there, but he knew exactly what the fuck I was saying.
Yeah.
That's not what your mom said when I was... Yeah.
What
But
did you
yeah,
teach
man.
him? What did you teach him? How did you influence him? Because he's actually smart. Man. Like,
Shit, the guys I'm mentioning are fucking smart. I'm like the Ronaldinho that made it. But then people are like, oh, you're so talented and skilled. And you're like, do you fucking know what I left back in Brazil?
yeah.
These skills you're looking at, I stole from that guy and that guy and that guy. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of an example of the way that's happened in mainstream media. Where someone breaks through, everyone thinks they're talented, then they bring their homies and you're like, what
Oh,
the
shit.
fuck? There's more of you.
Yeah.
And you're like,
and it does like
there's more of us.
It's just that when I'm thinking about it now, I think it has happened before where whether it's the Wayans brothers or whatever, like it's like, oh shit, you come from this and you come from even with musicians or
Yeah.
musical groups, there's the Jackson 5. You're a phenomenal singer, Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh no, my brother is Michael Jackson.
oh, you should see my brother.
Yeah,
and
something
you're like,
like that.
fuck, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So it's something like that for me. And look, from that foundation,
Sure.
I wanted to say this before I go on. I love my brother very much. We've been pushing life. He once almost sliced me open with a spade.
Ish.
We used to fight. I used to mur him. But he's been not only my younger brother, but
Yeah.
he's also been my older brother. You know, he protects me. He defends me in spaces when I'm not there. We've got an amazing relationship. Sibling relationship like everyone else. There are times when I'm like, hey, fuck this. Oh, I don't really agree with him. There have been times when he thought I was crazy and he thought the way I was living my life was fucked up.
Yeah.
But there's been this beautiful mutual respect. So I've loved and appreciated him. But from that foundation, everywhere I went, I then started meeting guys that I wanted to challenge my mind and where we'd sharpen each other. Like me visiting you here. I'm happy to come here, whether we're recording or not, because I've now tasted your mind. That this is a mind I want to fence, arm wrestle, mind wrestle.
Yeah. The first one was an arm wrestle.
Yeah.
I felt tired from that.
So
I felt mentally exhausted from that shit. But it was dope though. Like, it was dope. The thing is, I'm deviating a bit, but still on the same. There's a thing of. So I used your. I don't want to die for black people as a selling point. So your coming up needs to be a spicy thing. The first 30 seconds, right? Then you come under criticism for those things.
Yeah.
And then there's the obligation on me, not obligation per se, but of course, if I'm someone who internalizes things, I'm like, shit, am I throwing this guy under the bus now? Because this is actually a very dope conversation. But I have to use that headline because I'm a journalist. I know what appeals to people. They need to click, right? I don't want to die for black people, right? And you'll come under fire from that. So now when we engage, you see now this conversation is just a fucking engagement. We're just talking. Yeah. But then the first one, it could be that it's a contestation and I'm trying to show people that you're not all that, or you trying to show people that I'm not all that type of thing. So it's something that I constantly have to interrogate that, look, this is an interchange of ideas. It doesn't matter how people view it. As long as we can have these conversations and people are watching, maybe they can learn from it. I feel like I read books when I consume my content. Lex Friedman speaks to people.
Lex Friedman, I wanted to mention earlier with Joe Rogan.
Yeah. He speaks to people. He was speaking to someone from the Andrew Bustamante from the CIA. And
no, I'm going to disturb you. I'm sorry. So Lex Friedman, I wanted to say with the Joe Rogan, because Lex Friedman, one of the questions he asked Joe Rogan is, how did you survive the whole COVID thing? And Joe Rogan said he didn't know how strong mainstream media is and the animal behind it. That was meant to be a lead up to my question to you. That's all I wanted to say. Sorry, please carry on.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, these conversations should not, and I'm learning this as well. And I learned this when I speak to Nota, that of course we're contesting and we try to influence each other and so on. But these conversations should be like books. We talk about concepts, and of course they're not refined because we're not PhDs on any of these things we're talking about.
I'm a fucking PhD, man.
Okay, you're not a certified.
I don't need external validation.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Sorry.
I get it.
We're not recognized experts in anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you can listen to people and follow their train of thought and be like, nah, this nigga is short-sighted here, but it's dope here. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what I genuinely appreciate from Nami. I probably fell into the trap of, let me talk to this motherfucker. Let's see. Let's have a conversation. But there is no point of having a fucking conversation. Let's have a fucking conversation. Yeah. There is no point. You could be right about Jonestown. I could be right about Jonestown. Who cares?
Who the fuck cares?
My electricity bill is still staring at me. After that conversation, I still have to pay electricity and school fees and this and that. I have to pay for food, right? Yeah. Whether or not it appears as though you won the conversation or I won the conversation, it doesn't really matter. I don't know where the fuck we were.
Anyways, it was our first time having sex. So obviously it's going to be uncomfortable. You know, maybe my dick is big and, you know, your pussy is kind of, you know. So I had to be a bit gentle and...
You're signing me the female genitalia.
You're hurting me, Pen. Like, hey, Nkululeko, take it like a man. No, man, it was our first time engaging, and look, there were always going to be preconceived notions.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And again, like I said, because I realized how intelligent you are, I appreciated it, and I knew there was going to be a reflection, and I knew you were going to be watching me fucking other people on camera, and I was going to be watching you having sex with other people on camera. So when we come back, the session is going to be a bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, I think not everyone has an opportunity to engage with people as you have engaged, the people that you've just mentioned now. Yeah. I can go back to my township in Nyanga, in Cape Town, and I will struggle to find 5 people I can engage with, even if it's in isiXhosa. Like people who have this in-depth understanding of issues or yearning to understand. Like, okay, you know the piano, can you study it and who started it, and can you take it down and rebuild it again?
One of my superpowers is that I can find them. I could find the 50 people in Nyanga that you can have insane conversations with.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's partly because I engage
subjective
people.
though. It's subjective because there are conversations for myself. Like, I'm sure we can talk Umjolo and 100,000 people can watch.
No, of
and
course.
I would find people there who can
course.
talk Umjolo and 100,000 people could watch because it's spicy content, it's gossip and shit like that. But for me, like I log off in any conversation that's really not stimulating. Like
No.
I mentally log off. Whilst we are talking, I have this verbal cues of, all right. Oh, okay, all right. Thank you so much. Like I'm cautious enough to be able to say thank you. We are done talking, but there's no point of talking anymore. You know, it's not everyone who have the privilege to have sharpened your iron with other people. Will make you better. Will make you see their tactics in arguments. Not everyone goes through that.
Of course, Jacob Zuma, Julius Malema, Rebel with the course, Gaten McKenzie. So when I left home, I went around finding other groups that would stimulate and sharpen.
Sure.
Everywhere I went. And people would be like, but why are you always arguing? I'm like, I'm not. It's just maybe you don't understand me, whatever. And then I went beyond. And thanks to the internet, now you listen to a Kanye, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. You can listen to old interviews of some of the sharpest minds. And you're like, but this guy was an idiot. You read I Write What I Like by Steve Biko, and you're like, he was a smart guy. Maybe I could have debated him. I believe the smartest person I have heard on the internet, on YouTube in particular, is a guy called Naval Ravikant. I don't know if you know him.
I'm writing it down now.
Please do.
I'm going to check it out.
If anything, maybe just only watch the conversation between him and Joe Rogan.
I'm writing it down now.
So Naval in that conversation says, when he was young, or when you're young, all of us are seeking some type of validation. The hot girl in class, obviously, everyone is going to speak to her because she's hot. The guy who's amazing at soccer, everyone's going to speak to him because he's a superstar. The guy from the rich family, that's the guy.
Okay, I'll check him out tonight.
Sure. The guy from the rich family is, his dad drops him off in a fancy Mercedes. He was like, what's going to be my gimmick? When he was young. And he was like, I think I want to be the smartest person in class. So when kids speak about me, they're like, the brainiac, ask Naval, he knows everything. And he started off there in class and he said he consumed everything. And he said from there, he was like, but why can't I be the smartest in school? Why can't I be the smartest kid in the district? Why can't I be the fucking smartest person in the world? That means I now need to download as much information as possible so that if I'm having a conversation with anyone about anything, I have some type of knowledge. When he said that, I got goosebumps because I was like, I've never articulated it like that, but that's probably what my life goal has been. What superior information can I consume where I can sit with almost any human being on the planet? Can be an expert violinist, can be someone who is obsessed with soccer, Kobe Bryant, can be someone who's a musician, it can be someone who is in a war-torn country, and we can have a conversation. And I think that's what I've been on. And even now, with the privileged platform that I have now, I sit with the Tutuzane Zuma, I sit with the Gaten McKenzie.
How was you? I'm so sorry.
Rob Hersoff.
How was Tutuzane?
Sure. I sit with the Rob Hersoff. I sit with the Herman Mashaba. I sit with the Andile Mngitama. I sit with all of these guys, and it's coming back to, but this is what I've always been doing, going around just sharpening minds with other people. And when you meet some of these people, some of them have been under a lot of fire. So when you're engaging them, I'm chilling with, let's say, Jacob Zuma, who's caught the most heat. So I'm fascinated. Where do you get the mental strength to be attacked by the media and parliament and be accused of rape, and the DA hates you, and white people hate you, and clever blacks hate you, and everywhere you go, and then you have to go home and you've got wives, and you've got children, and you've got an NEC, and you've got a cabinet, and what the fuck, dude? And then you're there just singing. And you're like, no, I think this, I don't think this guy's well upstairs. And someone asks him a question and he's laughing. You come with me and those, I'll give you. And you're like, no. Is he crazy? Is he stupid? Or is he hyper intelligent and he's transcended all the bullshit and he's some kind of a guru? I'm fascinated by stuff like that. So I've been on this continuous path, and whether it's a conversation, whether it's a YouTube video, Chamath Palihapitiya, I don't know if we spoke about him last time.
No.
Ex-Facebook exec, he runs a company now called Social Capital, dollar billionaire. When he speaks about worldviews and his view in the world, those are the things that really get my dick hard. When Joe Rogan is debating, when I'm listening to Candace Owens standing up for Republicans and saying black people in America in their greatest economic times were Republicans and the Democrats. And then Kanye West, who's constantly having to defend.
But she's just dope though.
And Kanye West, when you have to watch him constantly have to defend his mental freedom, where you ask him a question and you're almost leading him. But Kanye, the thing is, and then Kanye keeps going like, I don't agree. Nope. And you're like, why not? And in that moment, it's not that he's disagreeing. He's thinking, if I agree with you, I lose my mental integrity. So as much as I might agree with you, I have to say, no, fuck the bitches and I like big booty and oh my gosh, yellow bones. I'm not doing it because I think it's cool, but it's because I know that that'll give me the license to keep saying what I want to say. I've found now, because I'm getting a bit of a platform, that people on social media, I made a video about Mihlali and Leroy. Hey, Penuel, stick to political topics. This is not your... And I'm like...
Fuck them.
I'm like, I'm being boxed.
Fuck
and
them.
I'm like, I think I need to do more of the celeb gossip.
Yeah. Fuck them.
I did a poll on Twitter where I was like, how many times do you have sex a week? Hey, dog, why are you... I'm like, nah, I'm not going to fucking pander to you.
Fuck them.
You know what I mean?
They said I must stick to football. When I had 500 subscribers, now I'm at 33,000 subscribers.
Let them know.
Fuck y'all niggas.
Let them know. How many subscribers now?
We have 33,000 subscribers.
Fuck the haters.
Fuck you niggas. Fuck you. I'm not you, motherfucker. I don't have limitations. I would still be stuck in Nyanga if I had that mentality. Fuck you, nigga.
No, that's proper. So that's what's been fascinating for me, man. That's why I can study the minds of the Adolf Hitlers, the Genghis Khans, the Robert Mugabes, the Jim Jones, because I'm just fascinated by psychology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll stop there. You asked about Duduzane.
Obviously, as we speak, something springs up as you talk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, how was Duduzane actually? Because I didn't watch that.
Yeah.
How was he? Your empirical analysis of what he's doing. Of course, there's what people are doing for their political expediency, and you have to do that. Everyone does that. Julius Malema will say certain things for his constituency, and he will say other things when he's speaking to business. And Duduzane as well needed to be a refined young person who can speak to the masses, in spite of his upbringing. Or even Usero Ramaphosa, I don't even think that he has even the strength to galvanize people. If South Africa is 70% poor, what would Cyril Ramaphosa be saying to poor people that resonates to them, except for the bars concepts that like Eskom and unemployment and grants? And that something is written by a scriptwriter, member of his team. They know, just talk about this shit.
Zero relatability between
Absolutely.
Cyril and the masses. High relatability between Jacob Zuma and the masses.
Yeah.
Which leads to a question of what type of leader does South Africa want versus what leader do they need? Because it's nice to be relatable, but are you doing the work? Which becomes a conversation. But yeah, you're very right. Duduzane Zuma, the two, arguably, there might be others. So in South Africa, it's Felicia Mabuza, subtle. And then at some point we had Nolene, is it Nolene? Maholwana Sang. And then at some point, Anele Mdota looked like she was going to be
my word, she fucking did that.
Yeah, she looked like she was going to be
the
she was
going to
biggest.
be the next thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, okay, let me not mention company names, but because of the behind the scenes of how companies run, paying people late and stuff like that, I know for a fact because I've been around those spaces, and unfortunately, it became such a thing that fuck. Because she was fucking phenomenal.
She was. And she is. I've got my own issues with Anele, but she's amazing at what she does.
Yeah, you guys are on Twitter.
Amazing.
I'm sure it starts from Twitter. You guys are on Twitter.
Yeah, part of it is
shit.
Twitter and the bashing of South African men, which leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. From her, from Pearl Tusi, from some of these celebrities who they either not smart and they don't understand the power of their words, or they are smart and literally they actually are just stupid. Because some of the things they say are actually destructive.
And be stupid. Maybe they are smart, but they are malicious. You can't be smart and be stupid. You can have stupid moments.
No, I'm saying either they are smart, and they kind of understand what they're doing, or they are actually stupid and they actually don't understand what they're doing. I think that's what I was trying to say.
I get
it. But I'm a huge fan of the work that Anele Mdota does.
Oh my word,
she's phenomenal.
That real talk with Anele almost replaced these women that you were mentioning was Nolin Maolwana Sango, and they like I don't give a fuck about television,
I
but
think she was better than both women.
yeah,
Even with
that's
the
what I'm
limited
saying.
time that she had, she was better than Felicia, better
Yeah,
than
it
Nolin.
would have been Oprah-like.
Yeah,
If there was no limit,
she would have been Oprah-like.
if the team was being paid on time and there were no complaints and shit like that and contracts were being honored, that show could be a cultural iconic show similar to what Oprah did with women for years and years and
By
years.
the way, shout out as well to Rilebogile.
Yes,
Mabocha.
Mabocha, yes. I think
'Cause
she did
she's-
Unpacked or something. Is it Unpacked?
I'm
what
not
it's called?
sure of the show,
Yeah, it's called
but
Unpacked,
she's
but I've never
pretty
seen it.
amazing as well.
I've never seen it. Yeah, shout
Yeah.
out to her.
Shout out to her. I wanted to go to, so that's the South African context.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if they might be. I know Oprah Winfrey and maybe Larry King before podcasts might have been the best interviewers on the planet. I've never ever thought in my life that I'd potentially get to that point, but I find myself now thinking, is it possible that I could move in a similar direction? And what does that really mean? Could I get certain interviews that other people can't get and do something special with those interviews where they end up becoming iconic? If you look at in the space of a few months on the virtual Nkuku, if you look at some of the interviews I've done on my own, and you think this is the first few months, what happens in 10 years if I keep on this trajectory?
Yeah.
I could literally be the person that is interviewing the presidents, the whatevers.
Yeah.
Another great guy on the come up in special interviews. I don't even know if it's a strategy or what's happening. Aldrin Sampier.
Oh yeah, Elgin.
I think he's pretty dope.
Is he podcasting or is still stuck
No,
on
he's
SABC? and-
mainstream. I think he does news.
Yeah. He does SAFM and whatever else he does on TV.
But he's being invited to do some of these special.
Yeah, so with
interviews.
Mohale, I saw a lot of the promos around. I wouldn't watch that, but I saw the promos of that. And yeah, and Umchita une articulation ekran, like he fits the bill of the person who can do that, and also he's also very smart as well in terms of his political interviews as well. Look, bro, like the only way to look at this is very simple. In 2 years' time, if you keep on shooting, and if I keep on shooting, we'll both have 400,000 subscribers. That means we are as powerful as one single radio station, but you're running the show.
Jeez,
You're running the show.
that is crazy, and it gives me
You're
goosebumps.
running the show. We will be so powerful. You see what happens to make sure whenever something controversial happens,
Yeah.
those people close ranks. The fans, they close ranks. The chillers, and they defend. They don't.
Yeah, the chillers. So I'm a chiller as well, because I guess being a chiller means you pay every month. I pay every month.
And they close.
But they
ranks.
have a cult following, those guys, and you get attacked, boy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an institution that's better than not maybe. They're not making as much money as what is Highveld 94.7.
94.7.
Yeah, here in Joburg, they have more power than them, but not the money.
Not the money,
aspect.
but in terms of influence.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you're very right.
Simple. So you become an institution. Penuel, what your intentions are with the cult, and you may want, even with me doing a farm, this will get in the way of my intention of being a farmer within 3 or 4 years.
I hear
Because
you.
you will have so much power. 400 human beings is 400,000 human beings. That's 400,000 human beings, bro. You can call a meeting and 10,000 people can rock up. It is TV.
That's 10 parliamentary seats, by the way.
There you go. Yes, the coefficient of parliamentary seat. So with Diski TV, there's this iPhone. When we do a radio show, we ask people to send us messages. And this gets, I just want to show you the unread messages. It's like 3,000 unread messages at any given point.
3007.
Yeah, unread messages. At any given point when we do a competition for people to win like $500 from World Sports Betting,
Yeah.
we get like 5,000 human beings. Those are foot soldiers. 5,000 human beings entering the competition.
That's insane.
You know, and there's millions of
That
them
is
who
real
watch.
influence.
That's influence.
Lebu Lion. Lebu Lion influences.
What does it do?
Yeah. No, before Lebu Lion. Look, I think the other thing I'm trying to do is I'm putting these tags so that if we never get to them, when I watch this again, if we watch this again, I'll be like, we never spoke about Lebu Lion. So I think this happened to Joe Rogan. And again, Joe Rogan is probably my GPS route. I'm trying to kind of follow his style because I just like him a lot.
So you being on the other side, just on that point that you were making, you being on the other side gives you a lot of power than being an analyst. But what you will have to learn to do, which I'm learning to do too, because I have views, is that there are interviews that will. So if you speak to Mihlali, for example, Mihlali, she is the buzz person now. She's trending. You are gonna have to be a chameleon. Take yourself, remove yourself from that interview. Just ask the questions.
I agree.
And because she's not gonna be able to have a robust engagement. She
you can't say
is
that in Nkululeko.
well, okay. I
boo.
think she has an interview on Kaya FM with Dineo and Soul.
Yeah.
And it was a 10-minute interview. I'm like, what the fuck is this 10-minute interview? But anyways, it is what it is. I don't even watch that, but I saw it on the recommendations. I think that there are waters you cannot expect her to swim. Not even her alone.
Yeah.
But she will give you 100,000 because I saw it was already on 110,000
Yeah.
within 24 hours, 48 hours, right? So now you're gonna always have to balance the numbers with dope conversations. And with South African celebrities, you're just gonna have to forgive the fact that you cannot be able, like what
You're
you've
about
just
to
done.
say something silly.
You know what I'm saying? Like
You're about to say something silly. I'm listening.
1 hour, 20 minutes, we've
Yeah.
been having fun,
Yeah.
right? But also having a robust exchange of ideas
Yeah.
and stimulating each other. With South African celebrities, you can't
You
expect
can't
that.
say that.
With the majority
bro.
of them, you can't have that conversation.
No comment.
Okay, so I'm influencing you to be on the other side. Be an interviewer.
No, hear what I'm saying. So if you go back to what I said previously, I said one of the things I'm trying to work towards is the ability to have a conversation with anyone on the planet. And part of it is that chameleon thing you're speaking
Yeah.
about, because you want to make people feel comfortable,
Sure.
because that's when they open up. I was saying that I like Joe Rogan, and I wanted to have dope conversations with people, whether it's my friends, whether it's my brother, whether it's celebrity. As long as it's a dope conversation. I wasn't thinking, I want to be the male Oprah Winfrey, because we don't have a male Oprah Winfrey and a black one. So I'm going to do these powerful interviews where everyone's like, I want to sit with Penuel.
Howard Stern is the male Oprah Winfrey and more.
Is it?
Howard
Jeez,
Stern.
I should watch Howard.
Yeah, it's declined now, but
I should watch Howard. I've never watched Howard.
He took the model of being on terrestrial radio that you listen to for free, and he was so outlandish in the 1980s that he would speak to prostitutes, and they were so outlandish that they had to. He has the most complaints by the whatever is their Broadcasting Complaints Commission in America. He has the most complaints, and then he had to move such that they started a new satellites. New policies were developed because of him, because he set the trends and the tones. And they also developed a new DSTV for radio there, satellite radio, which is called Sirius XM. So you could pay for it and you could hear him unfiltered at the time. But of course, you can't make that mistake in the South African context because people don't have money. Black people don't have money. So you would be making a mistake if you do that. Tibo Touch length that would touch HD, that you can't.
Cliff Central.
Metro,
yeah,
absolutely. So
they lost a lot of money. I know it's a conversation I've had with Usbu.
Absolutely. So
because we want free Wi-Fi. Free data. It's a must.
Yep, absolutely. So you can't make that mistake here. But whatever Oprah Winfrey became to American women and women globally, Howard Stern to men, he became that just by having outlandish conversations on Sirius XM, unfiltered. But of course now, because every contract renewal he signs with them is $100 million US, he has changed. He became corporate, unfortunately. But the people. Whether it's Dave Chappelle in 2001 does an interview with him, and you can see Dave squirming because he sees his hero, and Dave is our hero, but you could see him. So everyone wanted to do that. The writer of Titanic or whoever came up with Titanic, the movie,
James Cameron.
Yeah, James Cameron was there. Everyone goes to that platform on Howard Stern.
That's beautiful.
I
wasn't thinking of that. I just wanted to have dope conversations.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that I'm aware. I'm highly aware of a lot of things. So when you look at some of the interviews I've done on various platforms this year, I start worrying about what could potentially happen so that I try and make the right decisions more than anything, especially for my mental sanity and just making sure I'm okay. Part of what I've been criticized for is being a chameleon, because depending on my guest, I can change. I went on Podcast and Chill and I swore so much, man. I actually think I overdid it and I did apologize. Fuck. And I was excited. I was with the boys.
Yeah.
And the boys drink and it's a good time. I can be on another platform and you can see on some of the later Virtual Mkuku episodes, I keep quiet. I let guests speak. Even if I've got questions, I swallow them and it's fine. I said with Tutuzane Zuma that a lot of people have issues with because of the Guptas, because of his dad. Some of the people that I have relationships with sent me DMs. Why did you sit with this criminal and what? I'm like, I love the work Tutuzane is doing. He's a young guy. I've met him. He's an outie, well-polished gent, and he wants to serve. Just so happens that he's got the wrong dad. Just so happens that he did business with the wrong people. He's showed up at every court case. He went to the commission and is like, guys, if I've done anything wrong, please show me. Kind of situation. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying this is what he's saying. And I'm not a populist. I'm not gonna be fucking whatever's trending. Be like, if Abelung hate Umalima, I love Umalima. If white people say Tutuzane is a criminal, he's a fucking... I'm not an idiot. I've got my own brain. I'm an independent thinker. Yeah. Then the week thereafter, I went to sit with third generation Hersoff legacy, Rob Hersoff.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Then I got slashed. Puppet, captured by white money. Even now on Twitter, this guy dances for Abelungu. And I sit there and I let a person say his piece without giving my opinions. I may mention a little bit of my opinion, but generally I'm letting you speak. After that, I said to Gayton McKenzie and he got to speak. Gayton wants to be president in this country. We've sat with Herman Mashaba, Nusbu. Herman Mashaba said he'd love to run this country. Tutuzane Zuma said he'd love to be president of this country. Sat with Andile Mnitam. Like, we're sitting with people and we're allowing them to speak. And then people call you out, Pen, why didn't you pressure? Why didn't you? I'm like, it's not the right time. Yeah. It's not the right platform. And I believe that I still have to earn my license. So that when I call a guest, I'm like, listen, Tutuzane, listen, Johan Rupert, listen, Nikki Oppenheimer. Maybe we can have 2 interviews. Maybe we can have 1 and split it. So I normally like, but it's always tricky. You'd like to go hard first and then have the nice, so that it ends off well and you guys are laughing.
You can lose the person.
You could lose the person. Some people want to start with the nice, so that by the time it gets heated, even if you lose the person, you're like, at least we got through the good stuff. So I'd like to earn the license where anyone is comfortable to be like, I'm coming and what are we talking about, or what's the feel? And I'm like, I'm going hard. Black South Africans are very angry and I want to fucking go hard. Yeah. Julius Malema, and this is how you win people, whether it's a Mihlali or anyone. You're like, I want you to speak comfortably and freely about whatever makes you happy. And then I want to have some of the tougher conversations. You guys are puppets for hire. Any brand can come and give you money. And how do you feel about that? Because she's now prepped. You want to call her Tutuzane Zuma and say, Brew, we have to speak about the Cultrs. And if you're chilled, because I need you to be comfortable, like Umandisa. So this is what happened with Umandisa. And Umandisa is going to become a good case study for me. Where people are like, but Penuel, she's like, Penuel and I are cool. But fuck that guy. And because I know she's mentally tough, she'll be like, I love Penuel. I'll protect him tomorrow. I'm like, Tutuzane, we're going to go hard. I'm going to go in Johan Rupert and I'm going to be like, but you guys, you and your ancestors, you stole our land. We want the economy back. It's bullshit what you're saying. You guys are moving companies offshore and you must be like, yeah, fuck Penuel. You can't. But, and I'm like, no, but Mr. Rupert, you know? Not even Mr. Rupert, because I want to earn the type of license where, like Rob, I want to be like, near Johan, but fuck that.
Yeah.
And he's like, near fuck, we can't. But that's the type of brand I'm trying to create. Dave Chappelle.
You mentioned, I'm so sorry, because
sure.
Just keep Dave Chappelle. You mentioned something very important about the license. And the license is, what is the word? Is hypothetical. It does not exist. There's no license. To any person who thinks that there's a license on YouTube, the license is that when we're starting out, it's so difficult for us to hit hard because you can set the tone for your future guests. And I sympathize with that I don't want to have someone here sitting and being uncomfortable, but I also don't want to bullshit the audience as well. And
just so you can have that person.
Absolutely. And it's such a very difficult balance. But the license we're talking about is a hypothetical license, which I agree with that. Because you're developing and you're growing. With Sbu, it's an easy sell because they know he's a DJ Sbu already.
And Sbu's been through a lot.
With Mac G
really
as well,
helps a lot.
Which Mac G as well it's an easy sell because they know where he is. But with all of us who are on the come up, it's always going to be very, very difficult. You can pick up the phone.
No, it's an alarm.
Okay, cool. So it's always difficult for smaller platforms. Even with you have notoriety. People know you're famous now. But it's always going to be a very difficult sell to say to someone, you must come to your platform. It's easier when they say Howard Stern and they're like, oh, I've been a consumer of Howard Stern for the last 10 years.
I know what he does, what he presses,
exactly.
what he pokes. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I want that. I want to be able to be like, these are the interviews I've done. These are the conversations I've had. You can pick. Do you want to have this type of feel? Can we go for this? And especially first time, because this is what I had to explain to people. I've never met with Tutuzane before until then. Can't just go hard. Who am I trying to impress? I'm not even a journalist. Not being funded by a certain platform. Like I said, I just wanted to have dope conversations, man. You've got the leaders of AfriForum, Ernst Roots. And number one, I like AfriForum because of the work they're doing. But I want to have the type of license with them where I'm like, can we have the hard conversations? And they're like, Penuel, we're scared. I'm like, let's film it, review it, see how you feel, and then go out there, you know, and do that because I love human beings, but I also don't want to bullshit. Part of the reason I've got 2 channels, the Penuel show now, Penuel the Black Pen, and this is the conversation I had with Debs. I want to protect the sanctity of Penuel the Black Pen because that's meant to be my gossip corner. I want to go back there and be like,
Oh, yeah.
I had this interview and that guy's a fucking racist. I don't like him and he tried to give me money and I want to have that so that I can call you to my platform. We can do the fake. Yeah, so sir, I was thinking, and then after I'll be like, hey, but guys, I had to pretend because I didn't have a chance and I tried to speak to the guys and hey, they wouldn't allow me, so I'm sorry. It went. I want to have that because that helps me as well have my own integrity for specifically people that just like me.
Yeah, I don't know. So the reason why Itiski TV and then Nkululeko on Cultr, the separation is because I own Itiski TV with 4 other people.
Yeah.
So it's myself, Jason, and Tyron Willemse, who owns Massive Metro, and then World Sports Betting bought 51% of it last year, right? So there's nothing I can do on that platform. I'm in charge of who is employed on that platform, blah, 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 blah. But still, I have partners that we meet.
And you're limited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have partners that...
And you have to respect
I
it.
have
We're
to
not
go
the
to
same.
them and say, look, I have this person, Dr. Kumala wants to join us, but his budget is like 40K per month, blah, 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 blah. So I can't make the decision. But Nkululeko on Cultr was precisely for that I'm creating this platform so that I can be the decision maker, so that if it gets to 500,000 in 2 years, I know that I'm in charge of these legions of followers and any money that's accumulated from this. My concern with you and Penuel the Black Pen and the Penuel show and Virtual Mkuku was perhaps the conflict that is going to arise from the duplication of interviews, duplication of topics as well. Of course, when there is a lack of emotional intelligence, it will become a conflict. However,
lack of emotional intelligence and money.
Yeah, but and those kind of things. I think you can do that, but then what if, for example, Sbu says you have an exclusive contract to be on Virtual Mkuku, and this is the amount that you get paid, or the percentage of ownership you get paid. Therefore, YouTube, like Tina,
or sponsors come in and they tell him, we don't want this guy anywhere else but here.
Can we
so
talk
maybe
about
it's not
that?
even him.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Yeah, we can. So this was the problem with Dumekji. Shout out to my parents, both my mom and my dad, for my brother, my sister, and then shout out to my environment where I come from. I enjoyed having that conversation with my brother. He's hyper intelligent. He's very intelligent. Remove hyper. Penson can go fucking eat a
Who's
dick.
better than the other between the two of you?
He can go fucking eat a dick. He's not hyper intelligent. I'm hyper intelligent. He's just very intelligent.
You're better. You're the better version.
I'm the better looking.
You are the iPhone 13 to his iPhone 11.
No, he's the Samsung. What?
With 3310.
No. Shame.
Shame,
Shame, Benson. No, bro.
I liked him in that interview between the two of you.
A lot of people liked him.
Because I think it's because of the dynamic. You were asking the question and you were trying to provocate.
I was playing the devil's advocate.
Yes, you were provocating. So in that interaction, I preferred him.
Yeah, which is great. A lot of men did. And I think that was part of the conversation. It was going to be relatively bland because we consume a lot of content.
Oh, yeah, if you agree.
Relatively. Hey, dog, fuck hoes. Hey, fuck hoes. Hey, women are shit. Hey, dog, women. I'd like to be like, yeah, women are shit. Yeah, fuck. Women can be annoying. But do you ever wonder if maybe they, I think it gives it a richer context. And I'm hoping to bring him on more. I'm hoping to bring some of the guys I mentioned on because I would like to create the type of platform where you can bring anyone on, and it's still a stimulating conversation. But thank you to him and thank you to the people that listened because those are very important conversations for us to have. That's my brother, Dan. I enjoyed meeting with Tutuzane. I've got his number now. I'm hoping when I go down to Durban, I'm going to meet him. I've got a push-up challenge with Untlantla Lux. If you had a floor here,
I saw.
we'd be doing push-ups. Fuck, can I do push-ups here quickly?
You can. I mean, what the fuck?
I don't want to disrupt. No, move that. I'm gonna do some. I'm gonna mess up your couches.
It's fine.
It's gonna be very quick.
We're not employed.
It's gonna be very quick. No, don't move anything. Stay there.
Oh,
Don't move anything.
shit. How am I
It's gonna
supposed
be
to do
very
this?
Shout out to Nhlanhla Lux, my boy.
I
Shout
hope
out to
you
Soweto
fall.
Parliament.
We'll create a viral moment if you fall, bro.
No, I'm not gonna fall. Fuck. Okay,
I can
have to
make you.
shift a little bit.
I can make you fall.
Uh,
I can
how
make you
many am I
fall,
doing?
bro.
15.
That's why I'm getting
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Actually, I think we're on 20 now. Antlalax, swine. Okay, whatever that number is. Commanders, morning. Antlalax, you fucking swine. I did my 20. Anyways, so I've got a push-up challenge with Antlalax.
Just Gaugelo, redirect us if we've moved in any angle.
Are we good?
Okay, cool. It's getting too close.
And now? Okay. But you can tell me I'm still...
Nice one. The people are watching. It's an organic type of content.
Antlalax and I are doing a push-up challenge,
Sure.
challenging everyone to do push-ups. DJ Sbu and I did it
I
on the
saw
virtual
that.
Mkuku. Hey, Kesha, they was sweating. At some point, he's like, I have to go to the bathroom. It's blazing flames. We have bathrooms.
He will probably do better than me. He weighs less than me. I'm a fat piece of shit. He will probably do better than me.
Sbu's quite heavy and quite tall. You'd be
Oh
surprised.
yeah, he's
and he works out. If you ever, I don't know if you've ever met Sbu.
I did a show after his show for 2 years.
Oh, okay. He must come here. Actually, I should bring him. If you meet him and greet him, you can feel what you are chima.
Yeah.
He's quite strong.
When they greet these young niggas at Massive Metro,
Yeah.
there was this sound.
What the fuck?
We used to work all of us together, and you know,
Testosterone. I said, daughter.
it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. But
Testosterone.
that's how it sounded.
Alex and I are doing the push-up challenge. We challenge everyone else to do push-ups. It's a beautiful thing. It's two young, people are calling us leaders. He's a leader. Two young guys who want to make the country a better place. And we're also saying, just look after your body. You might vote for the wrong party. You might not have money. You might not have land. But at least you can work on your body. So do that. I'm hoping to go down to Durban and chill with Tutu Tuzani at some point. And him and I have spoken about coming up with our own, let's not call it a challenge, let's call it a project that we work on together. You know, because this is some of the dope shit that I want to do. And it's dope. And it's organic. And it's not for film and for hype and for what. I'm hoping to do something with Ian Cameron. Ian Cameron is the white guy who called Upegicele to task. I met him 2 weeks ago.
Shut up.
Yeah, shut up and get out.
The spatial planning of Cape Town, where I come from, is an apartheid legacy. Whenever white people want to address that shit, they need to know that they created that. With at the same time, you can also recognize that our government is failing as well.
No, I fully agree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of important, uncomfortable conversations we need to have with white people. Specifically rich white people, which are some of the spaces I'm trying to get into and that I'd like to think Rob is trying to get me into. You know, I have to give a shout out to Rob because me and him disagree and argue on a lot of topics. He'll tell me, but fuck, Pen, that's like when I did the Tutuzani interview. Why the fuck are you interviewing? I'm like, Baba. You know, but I appreciate him for having the sensitivity and the patience for me. As this young black boy who he's like, but Pen, this is the right thing to say. I'm like, nah, this is actually how the people feel. And I'm hoping, and again, these are the unsung heroes. I'm hoping to get to a point where Ongamla are actually comfortable around me, I guess like they were with Nelson. But I can hopefully try and bring them to task more or better than Nelson. Because Nelson did a bit. So that's why we have RDP houses and what bullshit. But no one is looking to pick up the baton. And I don't think Cyril is that guy. Cyril, I think, loves money and whatever. If Ongamla were held to task in 94 and maybe did 5%, they pay tax now and they do some charity work, I'm hoping to push that. And even if it's just another 5%, at least it will be my contribution. I'll say guys, at least I pushed this. But what Otaki don't understand, because we're human, you don't win over a person by bashing them. If anything, you lose them even more. But you're not going to also at the same time hear me, but white people are so, you're not going to hear me bullshitting. But all I'm saying is I'm hoping to be the type of voice that gets all Ngamla to slowly begin understanding the issues. And then on the other side, try and get Otaki, as tough as it is, to slowly begin understanding the mindset of Ngamla, so that if whites and blacks find each other psychologically, it's going to be an easier sell for why you must give back, why you must share, why you must. But as long as we're alienating each other, I'm telling you now, and I've told some of these white people as well, Uguti, it's still far and we may not even get there, but until the mindset shifts, it's not going to fucking work. And it's not. And people like myself, because we're privileged, I'm meeting cool people like Gray Jabesi, who does crypto. Gray lives in Dubai. He's traveling the world. I've been speaking to Vusi Tembiwai. I'm hoping when he's back in the country, I can have a sit down with him. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be like, fuck you guys, peace out. And I'll also just travel the world and focus on making money myself.
Yeah.
But I want to try and do my best.
That's the privilege of being talented, though. Like, you can do those things. You can experiment with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you've been able to have conversations with Double Rob. I think Rob is an experienced puppet master. I've actually listened to him in other interviews, and I'm not saying this from a stereotypical black position. He's an experienced puppet master. I heard him break down there's one episode before yours, which was slightly fresher, maybe 2 weeks older, and I listened to him, and he was talking about, he's like a puppet master. He was talking about Cyril and who could replace him. Like, the way he speaks like someone who has influence, who has a direct hand or indirect hand in the way that the country is going, that I think he would see you looking at the development of your influence, because whether you deny that or not, you are gaining traction. If it was 2 years...
gaining traction I'll take. You said famous. I was like, nope.
If 2 years ago, if it was 10,000 human beings relative, now, 2 years later, it's hundreds of thousands of human beings. Whether or not it reflects on the socials, I think it's immaterial. I think a lot of people would have seen your material. And I think
at some point or another.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And that's the power of the things that the video that you shot where you were speaking about Rob Hatsoff, and I think you were shooting it outside.
Yeah.
That was the first video I saw of you.
Oh, there's a video this year where I was calling out government employees.
Yeah.
That one reached a lot of people. I bump into cops, into nurses, into Penuel ngiyasebenza. Kodwa my colleagues of course.
They're snitching on themselves. Yeah. I think Rob is an experienced puppet master. He knows how to play the game, and of course, a country is never run by one person or one group of people. There are always conflicting interests. I think that he would see you as a very valuable tool. I mean, he was talking about South Africa in 2024, and we tried to instigate this conversation, and this is where it's going now. Yeah. That's the reason why people are preempting John Steenhuisen to rule South Africa in 2024.
To rule South Africa? I've never heard that. This is the first time I'm hearing anyone say that.
That came from my conversation with Andile Mngutama, because we're meditating on the possibilities of 2024, and Rob speaks about that in that conversation. And Maggie, that's why he talks about DA, and that's why Maggie gets Malema, because podcasting starts being political, and we're starting to preempt what's going to happen in 2024. He says, John Steenhuisen rules South Africa in this way. The DA will always get the most percentage of a coalition government, and the leader of the DA is John Steenhuisen. So in the event that the ANC fails to attain 51% of the national election vote in 2024, then it becomes a coalition government. If that becomes true, unless one of the smaller parties, it depends on what percentage the ANC gets. If the ANC gets 45%, then all they need to do is to persuade Action SA to say, let's combine your 6% if they get 6%, and then they will continue to rule. And the concession could be that Herman Mashaba could be the deputy president of the country, right? Because you negotiate. I'll take my 6% and make you the ruling party if you give me something. Now, in the coalition government and in the alignment of the coalition, the DA is already always stably on 15, 17, 20 to 25% is always there, and no other political party gets more than that. The the EFF is stably 8, 9, 10, 11, 12%. Herman Mashaba, 6%. So they're going to have to combine all of their votes together to make, for as long as the ANC is 45%, then they can persuade each other, everyone, even the one who has 0.5, to collectively make the 51%. Now, the argument for who is going to be the president is going to start. They will engage. They will say, no, we can't have Malema because it's radical and it will look bad for our voting constituent. At some point, they will settle for who has the bigger piece of the pie in this coalition, and it will always be the DA unless the EFF gets 3 times more than what that's not going to happen in the next elections. If we're using statistical predictions that they got 11 and they got 8 before, so it'd probably be like 13 or 15 if we're expecting any growth, right? So the DA is led by John Steenhuisen. Between now and 2024, there is no elective conference in the DA where they could play a race card and have a Mose Maimane. For example, like the cards that they were trying to play to have Mose Maimane as leaders was preempting this moment, but it came later than they had anticipated. So it's an easier sell when Mose Maimane is the leader of the DA and there's a coalition government. They could push him as a president. It's a more inconvenient sell where, and it doesn't happen globally as a phenomenon, where 9% of the population are represented by a president who becomes the president of a country, right? Because white people are 9% of the population. They are not more than 10%. Yes. Now, nowhere else in the world where the minority ethnic group has a representative who ascends to presidency. They chose him.
But it's the same dynamic.
We can break it down, but they chose him. He was still a member of the Democrats, and he still implemented their policies. He still instigated wars and continued wars and so on and so forth. He was just a Mandela effect, but that's a different story for another day. We have to research it first, and we'll talk about it here when we are ready for it. But we can argue that is at a conspiratorial level. They knew what they were doing with Barack Obama. They were agitating for something to give you the impression of an American dream. But it will be a more difficult sell. Even if you look at those dichotomies the same, those two dilemmas the same, it will be a more difficult sell for a John Steenhuisen to be the president of a minority group. Barack Obama even has the card of having a white mother, for example. But then still, his policies will still be the same as the previous ones and the previous one, because they are running a conspiracy there. And all over the world, anyways, there's a conspiracy being run. No political party really runs shit, right? They are just running shit on behalf of big business. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, as I bring this up, I was talking about John Steenhuisen, and we preempted that as we were talking, and I kept on interviewing people, because if the ANC, because they are declining every year, they're getting 50% now, less than 50%. The next best thing is less than 50%, and then we have a coalition. From that coalition, the most votes will be from the DA, and who is the leader of the DA is John Steenhuisen. And I heard Rob Hertzhoff speaking about this, and I heard him speak about the possibilities. He even mentioned MacG. Strangely enough, if you can go out, maybe I'll send you a link to that interview.
I've probably seen the thumbnail.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to it.
Yeah, he even mentioned MacG, and I'm like, this motherfucker is a puppet master. Like, he speaks like a person who knows what's what. He speaks like a person who knows how to influence people and say, let me place this one here. I don't have empirical evidence, just on a hunch of listening to him speak for 40 minutes. I'm like, nah, this motherfucker sounds like a puppet master, which confirms that people or companies run countries.
Do you want me to speak about politics?
Yeah, like ngangena ku Rob Hertzhoff. Bendifuna ukufaka ku Rob Hertzhoff.
Do you want us to speak about politics?
We've been speaking for close to 2 hours.
Politics is heavy.
Yeah, we've been speaking for 2 hours. We might dilute it.
You want me to speak about politics?
Talk about Rob Hertzhoff specifically.
Not politics.
I asked you about virtual Mkuku ownership of platforms, and then Rob Hertzhoff. Maybe those will be the last 2 things. We'll talk next month again, and the other month, and the other month. We'll always talk.
So I'm looking forward to meeting up with Tutuzan and seeing how we can collaborate.
Sure.
I love collaboration with cool people. I'm hoping I can collaborate with Ian Cameron of Action Society. You spoke about white people and spatial planning. Action Society and Abo Ian are patrolling in Amakasi, as white people, because that was one of the challenges he posed to Peggy Cele. I challenge you to come and patrol with us, where there's sewage running on the ground, where you guys have failed your people. So we can speak race, but he's a young leader who is doing work that, as a white person, black leaders like Nkululeko of those areas should be doing. Because Ontlantla Lux and Soweto Parliament and parts of Operation Dudula are doing patrol work as Soweto. So I'm hoping that our Ian and Action Society are going to be able to inspire some of the guys out there who are not just white to also pick up the baton and do that. AfriForum also does patrolling as well in certain white Afrikaans neighborhoods. Ian Cameron, Tutuzani, I hope we can collaborate. Okay, full stop. Rob Hersoff, Puppet Master. I wanted to start with the Puppet Master. There might be a chance that part of the fascination Rob has with me is the fact that he's probably spoken to a lot of black people in various ways. And I might be one of the few potentially who answers him in a certain way that is not normal, you know. And I'm speaking about black, but I can tell you, having seen well-off, rich white people speak to Rob in a certain way, and I'm like, what the fuck? Because, like I said, I fear no man, and I don't see any man as superior to me. There was a question you asked me earlier. I think it had to do with Dave Chappelle. What would happen? What would I do if I was in Dave Chappelle's shoes?
Yeah, it's a similar dichotomy. Because
I don't know what would have happened if I was younger, but I can tell you now, you and I are both minimalists. So I live with very little. I don't aspire to drive a Lamborghini. I'm not looking to have a mansion in Bryanston or at Waterfall or at Stain City. The things that stimulate and empower and fascinate me are not material things. So anyone who's going to maybe try and capture me with money is going to fall short, because I'm actually not about it. And I've said on platforms, because I'm God, that I'm trying to colonize minds. So I want what Mandela had. If you can give me that, we can have a conversation. But like Dave Chappelle, you must give me that under my terms and conditions. You're not going to make me Nelson Mandela as a clown, which is what Dave Chappelle didn't want. You didn't want to be is it a Step and Fetch It?
Yeah.
Is the name of this black guy who was clowning.
Step and Fetch It is a clown show, minstrel show for black Americans. I
don't want to shade this guy because I don't know him personally. But I look at I'm going to mention him, but ngiyaxolisa to him because I don't know him personally, and I don't want to knock his hustle at all. There's a guy called, I don't know if it's WRM William. It's KRM William.
Oh, William KRM, yeah, I think.
William KRM.
Now he's from Botswana. He's
Botswana.
clowning around and shit like that. Yeah, he's very popular.
The way he's clowning around is that it's that American stuff. It's that here's a black guy who is slapstick, who's exaggerated, and everyone laughs. Leon Schuster, and he does these crazy things, and he throws flour on his face, and you're like, cringe. He's a big deal. I believe he's a smart guy. I believe he's doing well for his brand, but
I've never heard him speak actually, because like
I've seen Sbu
and I've seen Meg G like on the thumbnail, but I've never clicked to listen. Maybe because of that, like, but this nigga.
I never watched the Sbu interview. I saw like a little 20-second clip.
Yeah.
Like again, I have high respect for anyone who's hustling. Similar to girls who secure the bag and however they do it. You know, it's your life. Try and own it like uZodwa Abantu. All of us love and respect uZodwa because she owns it. Try and not hide, you know, if you can. But I don't want to be Nelson Mandela and be a clown, you know. And when people listen to me, they're like, oh, he's a great orator like Barack Obama. People of South Africa, as you know, we come from a very, very difficult past with our heroes. Get the fuck out of here, nigga, with that bullshit. I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? Again, this is part of the appeal of Jacob Zuma and Julius that say this reckless stuff. But I think Urob is fascinated by that. And you're very right. Urob is a very intelligent guy. You must understand, for people that don't do the research, Rupert Murdoch, at some point, I don't know if he still is, the most influential man on the planet in media.
Yep. You own Sky in New Zealand. You own Sky in England. You own news platforms in Fox. Yeah, own news platforms in different influential countries in the world.
Rob Hersoff was the right-hand man of Rupert Murdoch.
Oh, shit.
And then after that, he went to go and work with Johan Rupert to help him set up pay TV. This is not look, we're not even speaking about his family. The fact that his family was wealthy and his family broke off a piece of their pie to give to Patrice Motsepe. We're not even speaking about that and some of the spin-off companies that came from Anglophile. People can go research that. We're not speaking about a boy who was at Ridge, Michael House, and the people he networked with, maybe the books he read, the things he watched. Speak about a guy who was the right-hand man of Rupert Murdoch. He's not a dumb guy. Number two, the people that he has connections to and at the levels he has connections to. Rob does not have social media platforms, but he has a lot of people within his circle who are on social media.
He can call social media to start a page for him and it will automatically be on 5 million within days.
Debatable. It's debatable.
Yeah, but
Johan
it's a
Rupert-
plausible...
Fuck, I don't know Johan Rupert. I feel like, should I do it? Should I do it? Should I do it? Should I do it? Let me fucking do it because I don't know him personally.
It's a plausible argument.
Because I don't know him personally.
Are you going to try and call those niggas?
No. No, I'm not about reactions. And like I said, I want to win people's hearts, man. So I don't want to do reckless stuff. But I also don't want to look like a bitch nigga that's captured. Because that's unnecessary.
You're going to look like that soon.
What's the network? Ah, fuck. Let me speak while I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's a dumb guy at the slightest. When I speak to him, I found it. When I speak to him, very cool guy. He comes from a boys' school background, Michael House boy, passionate Michael House boy. So the swearing like a sailor, and I'm very comfortable with it because I come from a rugby background.
I like that. I like that. I think it. In a way, I was observing him as a speaker for the first time in that interview.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that shit, you shoot from the hip, so
Yeah.
you get to say things that are revealing, but you don't realize. That's why I saw the puppet master in him, because it shoots from the hip.
So part of the problem is the people that don't understand the jock. When Rob does that, it's not because he's a billionaire or it's literally just boys' school culture. You can go to a young black boy who's 18, who's going to be like, yeah, those fucking cunts and those faggots and you're like, this is toxic masculinity. He just comes from that background. But on top of that, then he has that thing. It's almost like, imagine if Tutuzane Zuma spoke like that. And then you're like, but his father was president. And it's like, yes, his father's president, but also the guy was like a rugby jock and maybe he was also in trading. Like these guys that work for these asset management companies and who trade, they swear like sailors, they snort cocaine. It's a fuck up. If you watch The Wolf of Wall Street, like guys literally do that. So when you meet a guy like that who happens to be, let's say, Patrice Motsepe's son, you're like, it's because his dad's a billion. No, it's not because it's because he comes from a fucking culture like that. So I need to highlight that. But he's a very smart guy, but he's a great gent. He passionately wants South Africa to work. Why? It's because white privilege. Yes. It's because when South Africa works, rich white people get to maintain their privilege and make more money. But for that to happen, they also have to make sure that there's employment. They have to make sure that there aren't civil wars and stuff where their mates, the foreign investors are going ham. Again, this now becomes something that I understand, that when you now try and speak to Odak, of course they're going to get angry. And I understand that. And look, I'm almost willing to be crucified because they're like, you were sent by. I'm like, I can understand why you'd say that. Because in that conversation, I then have to explain to the black people what's in it for you. So let's say, for example, Rob win my mind. And I know as you're smiling now, you're like, you're starting to say the right things.
No, I'm thinking of something else actually. Because as you're describing as you're describing the motivation for white people in this country,
yeah,
you literally are describing in words what Professor Sam Peter Blanche, who was Professor Emeritus of the Stellenbosch University, was criticizing about the gear policy of the African National Congress. There was something called the trickle-down effect, where the more rich white people make money, the more employment that they create.
Yeah.
But it was a trick, because if you look at how much money they make and what kind of employment that they create, you would find that at a level of individual white business owner, he would make a South Africa that's conducive for him to make 5 million he gets to hire maids and garden boys to pay them 2,000 rands.
Have you ever watched my video? This was the video that got me to meet Rob. The one where he was speaking about Mbalula being idiots and the ANC.
Yeah, I think
Did you ever watch
that's
that
the
video?
first time I saw you speak.
Did you ever watch that video?
I think so. I can't remember the points, but I remember you made
I'm
it.
going to remind you of one of the points.
Yeah.
So one of the points in that video was essentially what rich white people want is they want black people to behave. Be a good black, go to work,
Fuck
pay your
yo,
taxes,
motherfuckers.
be a good Christian. You know, and I said that in that video. You know what I mean? That part of that video resurfaced in another WhatsApp group. And the white people in that group were like, but Pen, you can't say this. I'm like, number one, please go get the context of what I was saying. Number two, if you guys are refusing to understand the mindset of Utaki, you'll never fucking understand them. And this is why I'm trying to say, Uti, look, I understand where the Robs of this world, where their head is at. And they'll never articulate it like me. No, Pen, what do you mean? We don't want to do that. Look, we respect. I mean, we've got friends like Vusi and Musi. And you're like, get the fuck out of... You know what I mean?
Fuck you. Oh, by the way, shout out to Ellen if you're watching. He's my neighbor. He lives here.
To Ellen?
Ellen Smith. Shout out if you're watching. I'm not bashing you. You and I, we have a good relationship.
You're captured by Ellen.
You and I, we keep an eye on each other's house.
This is what I'm saying. We need to find a way to get both sides to remove themselves, as difficult as it is, and put themselves. I'm trying to do the same thing with men and women. Women will never understand men until they just remove yourself a little bit, and same with men. You know, and it's not an easy thing to do, and we may not get it right. Not just me, but everyone who's trying. But I have to say I tried, right? Because we're in a situation. Rob.
Indona zamo achieve kuwe Rob. Ufuna ndone kuwe Rob.
So I haven't gotten to the part where I'm discussing politics because I asked you if you want us to discuss
politics.
politics.
No, it doesn't matter. But we're talking about Rob.
I know.
Ufuna ndone Rob.
I'm not going to answer that yet.
You're being evasive.
I'm not.
And these people.
But you see,
no. Me and you are talking. I get.
But I'm saying I keep going back and I answer your question.
These niggas.
Fuck the niggas. I'm going to answer you.
Okay. All right.
Buka manje sungenze ngiluze point lami.
Kutheni uRob wekufuna kangaka?
Fuck. Puppet master. So part of what I wanted to say was, and this has been one of my cries for years.
Okay.
If you're gonna say Musi Maimani, Lindiwe Mazibuko, Herman Mashaba, Phumzile Fantam, Soli, I think Umsimango. If you're gonna say all of these people are captured, let's all accept it.
Not limited to them.
Let's say they captured.
My
question is, where are the rich black people to capture them as well?
Yeah.
Where are the black people to push their agenda? I'm here speaking well about AfriForum. Where the fuck is your trade union to build an AfriForum so I can also speak well about you? I mean, I'm speaking about Nhlanhla Lux and Soweto Parliament. Nhlanhla Lux is a puppet. I'm like, so every black movement that is moving is a puppet movement? That speaks to your own inferiority complex. And I'm not going to sit to entertain that bullshit. I'm willing to and push. I'm pushing Tutuzane Zuma for fuck's sakes. The same guy that Ongamla hate. The group. I'm like, Nifuna and gimme. Nikfuna gonke and nothing and you're not willing to do anything. That's why I then start talking shit to Abantu Abamnyama. Fuck all of you. And the day mhlambe there's a half gap to get captured, I'll be like, Bulalan lezinja ngoba dakiwe. Ngazama ukuyisiza by idoms amaqaba.
No, let's not talk shit like that.
No, I
get you, but
it's not our people. No, it's not for you. It's not for you.
No, I know you're not directing it to me, but I'm saying
forget directing. It's not for you.
But it's our people.
Because I need them to hear it.
Yeah.
Because black people have never had leaders to call them to task. Steve Biko, Robert Sobukwe, Marcus Garvey, no one has ever told black people, catch a fucking wake up, motherfuckers. Because this fucking world is run by Zinja. And then you wonder why you get treated by second class citizens. And when Penuel is trying to tread carefully and explain, you drag me. And then I'm like, you guys don't fucking get it. Because the people that I'm speaking about, they're still trying to understand. They don't have to. They can fire you from all the companies tomorrow and hire Indians and immigrants, and then you're fucked. Whatever you thought you had, you can't even afford the data.
But that would be
The
anarchy.
whites and white
That would be
you won't have
anarchy.
nothing.
That would be inconducive even for them. Because it would create
Exactly.
anarchy. Even for white
Exactly.
people, it would be inconducive.
Exactly. And that's what Otaki need to understand, that if Ongamla wanted to kill you, they would kill you.
They could do that.
But they're not killing you. Partly because you are tools, definitely.
Yeah.
But partly because some of them actually want shit to fucking work. And you won't see it. But I travel to Sandton, Sandhurst, Bryanston, Four Ways. You go to Camps Bay, you go to Mhlanga, and I see rich black people with fucking fancy cars. I see them playing golf. And they are living the South African dream. And they never speak up. They keep quiet in their little clever black corners. Guys, we are living well. And the only people who have a voice are the poor black masses. But some of us, Labo Ngamla, have given us a gap. And this is where I get dragged again. If you are going to say you don't want to be a clever black, you don't want to work for these white companies, number one, either go build your own fucking black company and build a whole value chain. And it's going to be hard. And you're going to have to be a Pakistani working 16 hours and you're going to have to cheat. Go do that and do the hard fucking craft. Or go back to the villages and live like our forefathers. But Otaki wants everything on a silver platter and they think someone must just give it to them. And I'm like, it doesn't fucking work that way. You're going to bash apartheid whites. Then you're going to bash the immigrants. Then you're going to bash the Indian. At no point do you ever take accountability. And I'm like, okay, let's bash all of them. What are we going to do? And I'm like, this is why no one respects you. This is why no one respects you, because you don't respect yourself. And you're not used to a black leader who holds you to account. Because I must be a puppet. When I go to my mother, my father, my grandfather, when I'm I'm like,
Do you actually say that?
because
Do you actually say that?
no, I've never had to.
Okay.
I've never had to for many reasons. But my point is, your family is never going to get out the fucking gutter until you have the hard conversations. And if Otaki, who are already lost, who are already at the bottom of the food chain, who are already begging whites for jobs, who are already being smashed by immigrants who come from poorer countries, who are already being killed by Amandia in Phoenix, if they don't want to hear me, because the unemployment you're seeing now, after this unemployment, 74% youth, 54% general, the next thing that's going to come is this social welfare you get from white taxpayers. That's going to disappear. Then you won't have electricity. Then you won't have Wi-Fi. Then you're going to be really fucked. And whatever you were scared of as Zimbabwe, at least Mugabe gave Zimbabweans land and he gave them superior education. You won't even have that. Watch what's then going to happen. Abantu abamnyama njengoba amantombazane edunisela ama e-wallets neDubai. Abantu abamnyama abazobe bedunisela abantu just for a plate of food because they have zero skills. Because the same ANC government that has BEE shares, that lives in top white neighborhoods, that has game farms with fucking millions in mattresses, those same leaders you vote for, even not Julius Malema who live in suburbs, they won't be fucking there for you, boy. And my words, I hope, are going to come back. Penuel, guys, we're in a fucking war zone. And if we don't catch a fucking wake up, you're done for. You're fucking done for. And by then, to Dubai, no Toronto with my mates saying, oh my gosh, hey, it's so bad what's happening in South Africa, bro. That used to be my home country and I feel bad for the people and just pass the steak there quickly. Oh, let me watch the news on Fox. Oh, fuck, that's fucking bad, man. My people are suffering.
Yeah.
Because no one fucking cares, man. So many black heroes. And I said this last time. So many black heroes have been killed. You did fuck all. Penuel, and I'm not even a leader. I'm not a leader. I'm not influential. I'm not on the ground. Hey, I'm nothing. We're making noise on podcasts. I'm trying to be like, guys, vugani. Push up. At least, if it's at least grand. I speak about planting trees. Just plant a fucking tree and be like, let me go and pick something. Reach out to Alan Smith. Be like, okay, I hate Ongamla, but hey, this is my neighbor. If I leave, you must check my pause. If he leaves, I'm like, hey, Alan, I'll check your house, man. I'll feed your dogs. Because what can we do?
Shout out to Alan.
Otherwise, go build your own lekker neighborhood. Ekas. Otherwise, go back to the fucking villages. And if you're not willing to do that, to try and fucking make it work now, because we're here now.
Yeah, here we are.
Anyways, sorry, Rob.
No, that's
I wanted to say this. I apologize to Johan Rupert. I love you very much, Johan.
you love Johan Rupert.
Johan Rupert is the father of the nation. And I want to pissed him off.
Is he angry at South Africa?
Johan Rupert tried to extend a hand when he sat down with Given Mkari. And Otaki missed that moment. Not to hug him. Not to hug him.
Say that I can call my friends in the taxi industry and I can mobilize them.
He was speaking about Chabu Mabuza.
Yeah, but
may he rest in peace.
Ultimately, the message was that at any given point, if my life is under threat, I can sabotage whatever the fuck you're doing.
He's got influence at the highest levels.
Yeah. That's what people took exception to. Although that's true.
It wasn't just that.
Although that's true that he has power and he can organize industry.
Not just locally.
Yeah.
South Africa's weak, man.
Although that's
we can
true.
Get bombed by real people with real weapons from outside.
Yeah, but I want to say that to his point, what I observed at the time when he made those statements, people were angry about that he can, and it was true actually. You saw billionaires when they speak, they say revealing things that they don't realize that are revealing.
But people that are emotionally unintelligent, they don't read between the lines. Johan Rupert was extending a hand on behalf of wealthy apartheid beneficiaries, and he said even to Given on that interview, if you can get young black people in a room that are willing to work together and move somewhere, I'll get some of my people and we'll see where we go, literally. And then Abantu Abamnyama slashed him, and then he was like, fuck all of you as well.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to extend the hand.
Not that you have to hug him and be like, oh, siyabonga, Johan Rupert, but he was literally saying, let's have the conversation. Clearly there's something we're missing. People like, Rob are trying to do that again. Obviously he's a bit more spicy. But he's trying to do the same thing.
Wasn't he away for 30 years?
I don't know for how long, but he was away.
He stayed in a different country for 30 years.
Yeah, he was in America and then he went to, it may have been
New Zealand or Australia.
England or just Europe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he spent time down south, down under.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I know he was in Europe and
How long did he come back? How long ago did he come back?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. Sorry, I don't have some of that intel in that depth, but I'm sure we could find out.
Yeah, no, that's not an important detail.
Yeah.
I'm just mentioning it out there that he mentioned it in the interview. And I'm like, motherfucker, you can go and be still rich in a different country.
Yeah.
That's influence and power.
Of course. And not just him. Saki Makozoma, a lot of his wealth sits in Australia. I think he used to be treasurer of the ANC. Cyril Ramaphosa has obviously got business interests offshore. Mzi Khumalo, at some point, a chunk of his wealth was sitting in London. We can go through a long list of Black South Africans. Trevor Manuel was sitting on the board of Rothschild, I think in Switzerland. So we might point to the white people.
That's why I'm saying in one of my points, I said all political parties run countries on behalf of big business and business interests. Like, I hold that view. It's a trivial debate we can have about Malema over Zuma, over Banbane, but we know that all countries are run on behalf of the interests of big business.
Let me calm down. So yes, Rob has got a lot of people.
Did I work you up on the Rob question?
Oh no, it wasn't you. I just
I know. Like, I know you know the criticism between you and Rob, and it's triggered by that every time someone mentions Rob.
No.
And the audience say, "Hi, you are a puppet of Rob," whatever the fuck they can say. They say. But you spoke passionately about that.
It's not you, and it's not that.
It doesn't matter if it's me. We're talking, bro.
No, I hear you. My passion. I'm explaining the emotions.
Sure.
Is because sadly, I actually still care about black people. Sadly. That's why I get emotional, because I really want black people to win in this world. And they don't get it. My mom was so strict. She used to make us work. It's because your mom fucking loved you.
You did not think, I'm sorry to break your thought, you did not think that we could speak until 4. It is now almost 4 and you have to go somewhere.
Fuck.
Let's wrap it up in the next 10 minutes.
We can't wrap it up.
No, we have to wrap it up.
Are you tired?
I don't talk more than 3 hours.
Then you can keep quiet. I'll talk.
Okay, cool.
Because...
yeah, the cards get full after around.
So I'll have to come back. This is why I asked.
No, but we'll engage continuously. I'll come to the panel show. Let's make that commitment here live. You're gonna invite me to the panel show.
Please come through.
Yeah, where do you guys shoot? Oh, if that's classified confidential information,
we shoot in Johannesburg.
Okay, somewhere in Johannesburg.
That's why I asked. I think 3 times if you want me to talk politics.
Now the thing is, we'll have an ongoing conversation.
No, because this is an urgent conversation.
Okay.
I'm not saying we're gonna have it now, but I was just warning you that when you started speaking, that's why I took a backseat.
Yeah.
Because, and I think I looked to the side at some point because I was crunching some intel because it's a very detailed conversation.
We'll do it the next time. So when
2024.
Yes, but when we arrange for the next interview,
Yeah.
you remind me that we need to talk about that urgently next month
So we're not going to speak about it now.
because we have 10 minutes literally of battery life, of memory
Okay.
card, of everything else.
So we won't speak about politics now. We won't speak about potential coalition governments.
2024 is a distance away.
We
but
won't speak about whatever some people feel might happen in the future. Johan Rupert tried to extend a hand, man. And we missed it because he wasn't going to tell us a lot or do a lot, but some of us are smart and we were going to read through between a lot of lines, and he was going to introduce us to a lot of people that we probably didn't even know exist, who actually influenced this country and maybe the continent and the world. And we unfortunately missed it. You know, the guy's got a wine with the Rothschilds family, you know, Rupert and Rothschild. He's got influence at the highest levels in this world. And this person is trying to have a sit down, and we missed it. And I'm hoping that at some point, maybe I can try win him back. Johan Rupert is actually just an Afrikaans boy from Stellenbosch, went to Cultr, very passionate school, which I think to this day still produced the most Springboks. He loves his rugby very much. He loves his biltong. He loves Afrikaans. Passionate Afrikaner across the world who pulled out advertising in some of the biggest magazines in the world when they spoke shit about Afrikaans as a language, because he owns the second biggest luxury group in the world, Richemont, after LVMH. His wealth in South Africa under Remgro, which is normally reported as fingers in all the pies of all the companies,
Yeah.
that's a small percentage of his wealth. Which
And to
people
us, it
don't
looks
understand. To
enormous.
us, it's like, oh my fuck.
Rama, this product,
Yeah.
that product, this, that. It looks enormous to us.
So I'd like to apologize to Johan Rupert. I know he's a passionate Cape Townian, loves Western Province and the Stormers. He owned some rugby teams in Europe. I don't know if it was Saracens. I stand to be corrected.
Saracens is in
And
England.
is it in England?
Yeah, Saracens is in England.
Is England in Europe?
No, I'm saying, I'm not correcting you.
No, I know. I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
specific.
It's a separate question.
Saracens is in England. It's a rugby club in England. It plays in the
Is
English.
England in Europe?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just confirming. I'm never really sure.
No, fuck that.
Because
man.
sometimes I want to say in Europe, and then someone's like, no, it was the United Kingdom. I'm like, oh, okay.
No.
Then I'm like,
Oh yeah,
is
Brexit.
Europe and the United Kingdom?
Whatever, man. It's in Europe.
It was actually a genuine question.
No, I was not even trying to correct you. I'm just saying Saracens
No, I
is
hear
a
you. I
rugby
hear you.
club in England.
So he owned a team in Europe, in England, and he was exporting a lot of South Africans there, you know, so that they can earn euros and whatever. Not just white players, you know.
Predominantly white players.
Because predominantly white players play rugby and are good in this country. It's a numbers game.
Unless you can go to the Sharks. The Sharks are transforming now. But anyways, I'm just fucking with you. The Sharks are like, I think they're probably 60% black now. The Sharks.
I'll just say okay. I'll just say okay. Because it's a very detailed conversation.
Yeah.
Another emotional conversation for me is rugby and rugby transformation,
Sure.
by the way.
Lucanio Am is the best outside center in the world. Number 13. Shout out to Lucanio Am.
I wish I could argue with you, but no cap. You're very right.
Yeah.
He's arguably the best player in the world right now, across the board.
Yeah.
Nkululeko on Cultr.